Recordamos que en breves minutos arrancaremos con las actividades del día de hoy en la convención número 99 de la Asociación Mundial de Boxeo, donde tenemos preparadas muchas sorpresas para ustedes. Recuerden descargar la aplicación Interprefy en su App Store, en su Google Play, dependiendo de su dispositivo. Y al descargar la aplicación Interprefy, la abren y van a colocar el token WBA99 Convention. WBA99 CONVENTION. Esto para disfrutar la traducción simultánea español-inglés, inglés-español, que son los dos idiomas que hemos venido utilizando. Así que muy importante a todos los que se están sumando a través de GoToWebinar para así en algunos minutos arrancar con nuestras actividades. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. That depends on which part of the planet you are. Welcome to a new day of activities of the 99 convention of the World Boxing Association. As usual, we have prepared a lot of events and surprises for you. Before we start, we want to remind you an important item to all the people that are joining this GoToWebinar session. You have to download in the App Store and Google Play. That depends which dispositive you have. You have to download Interprefy. After you download the app Interprefy, you have to open it and you have to put the following token: WBA99 Convention. WBA99 CONVENTION, all in capital letters. It's important so you guys can enjoy the simultaneous translation, English to Spanish and Spanish to English. So it's really important to do that. In a few minutes, we will start with the activities of this Friday, starting with challenges of boxing, approximately in 5-10 minutes. After that, boxing and equality of gender, and then Olympic boxing. So we will have a lot of events, and also 4 p.m. Eastern time of the United States, we will have American through Zoom. So be aware of all of our communications through our social media, through email, and of course, all our platforms. We will start in a few minutes.
boxeo como Bob Arum y Don King estuvieron vibrando con la música de C4 Trío, lo que fue obviamente algo para romper el hielo, para romper protocolo, como generalmente lo hacemos en la Asociación Mundial de Boxeo. Y para el día de hoy nos acompaña otro duro, otro grande de la música, como lo es Víctor Manuel, para así comenzar a amenizar un poco lo que será este viernes 3 de julio en la Asociación Mundial de Boxeo con esta convención 99. Victor Manuel, a great salsa singer, which is a great fan of boxing. And here in the WBA, we of course encourage great artists that enjoy our passion of boxing. As you can see, we have a great and distinguished panel here with Claudia Trejos and Eddie Hearn. And they will be, of course, the person that will direct our first forum of the day, the challenges of boxing. It's, of course, a pretty important matter to our sport. And then, of course, we will continue with our activities, but let's find out about the first activity that we will have in the 99 convention of the WBA, day number 3.
Well, the video. Welcome to the 99th convention for the WBA. We're definitely in great company. We have legends in the sport. Let's start with Mr. Eddie Hearn, coming from a long line of boxing lovers, promoters, and just making sure that the talent and the legacy of this sport continues on. Thank you very much, Eddie, for joining us. I know it's happy hour in England, so thank you very much. As always, it's a pleasure, and I know that these are trying times, and I know for a fact that we're starting to get everything activated. Certain companies have already started with bubbles and what have you. How is Eddie Hearn and Matchroom starting their activities for this 2020, or the second half of 2020?
Well, thank you, Claudia. It's good to see you. Good to speak to you, Gilberto. Hello, my friend. Long time no see.
Oh, Gilberto just joined us.
Yes, he's here. He's here. Things are slowly getting back to normal, Claudia. The pub's actually open tomorrow in England, so that's a good sign. We are obviously a global business, and every country is at different stages of recovering from the pandemic. I think when this first happened, my immediate reaction was quickly, let's bring boxing back as quickly as we can. And as the weeks have gone on, I've sort of relaxed that mindset a little bit and just thought about bringing boxing back at the right time in terms of logistically and sort of, you know, with health as a priority and for medical reasons at the right time, but also giving the fighters enough time to prepare as well. You know, I think fighters are always their own worst enemies in the respect that they'll always tell you they're ready and they'll always tell you their weight is good, you know, a bit like us or me. You know, I always tell you that my weight is good, but really it's not that good. But it's sort of made me think that time is okay. You know, we need to make sure that we bring boxing back. So for us, you know, when I thought about bringing boxing back at the end of June and stuff like that, I just took a breath and said, look, just relax. And our first event will actually be on August the 1st with a little concept we have called Fight Camp, which is here behind us, which is to bring boxing back here at our headquarters in just outside of London. We're going to be staging 4 events, 1 a week, outdoors in the back garden of our headquarters, which is a nice property with great views over London and stuff like that. And we wanted to do something different. You know, for me, and this isn't a criticism about people going in studios, but boxing is not a game show. You know, I think you have to make sure that you give the fighters the respect to say, you need to peak at the right time. You need to be ready for these fights. And sometimes walking out into a studio is hard enough without crowds anyway. But we need to try and build that visual for the fan to say, wow, look at this. You know, there's got to be lights, there's got to be fireworks, there's got to be razzmatazz, because that's what we've built over the last 10 years. You know, we've made boxing cool again. And I think every sport now is in grave danger of not just losing momentum, but potentially becoming extinct, because we're all battling against each other now for airtime. And it's not going to be easy just to come back. So these challenges that are presented to us are something we never expected to encounter. You know, in fact, probably 2 weeks before this happened, we were planning our launches of offices in Australia, Canada, Spain, Germany, and it's just funny what life throws at you. You know, we were flying. Luckily enough, we've built a very good business over the last 10 years that can sustain and deal with these kinds of swings in the economy. It's going to be, I feel like people don't really recognize yet what is about to happen in terms of the global economy, but certainly the economies in markets that we deal in. And it's going to be very, very tough. I don't think, you know, I know that broadcasters, doesn't matter whether it's DAZN, ESPN, Sky Sports, whoever it is, they're not going to want to spend as much money on rights fees initially, you know, when they bounce back from this. People have lost subscribers, you know, people have lost customers in all kinds of different industries. So it's going to be tricky, but I feel like we have a great product in the sport of boxing. We have a historic sport, and I feel like we're well prepared to bounce back.
I totally agree. And obviously you come from a long line of people that understand the fluctuations in finances, and that on its own is going to give you an advantage. But like I mentioned before, we're among royalty in boxing with the second generation of great supporters of the sport. And now I'm going to bring in Gilberto Jose Mendoza, whom I've known as Gilbertico. So please forgive me if I talk to you as Gilbertico. But obviously, 99th convention, Gilberto, this is an amazing feat to be around a sport that has been titled as very unorganized, but the WBA has been around almost 100 years. How is the WBA doing right now in the middle of 2020, which happens to be, like Eddie just mentioned, social and financial crisis? I'm sorry, we can't hear you. I think you have to be unmuted. Hello? Juancho? Okay, so while we're arranging the microphone, which I hope is soon, we still can't hear you. Well, I'm just going to continue with you, Eddie, while we
I
try
can
to figure out
I can
what's going on.
talk for hours. Don't worry,
I
Claudia.
know, and you just touched upon a very important subject, of course, because this is you mentioned the challenge because this is a new reality, and we're not just talking about what's going on with the virus and the whole paralyzation of the world per se, but now we're looking at a completely different way of doing business. You just mentioned how you've created this camp, other people have created bubbles, but let's talk about what goes on, let's say, for the rest of 2020. Is this the way we're going to see boxing? Maybe forever? Or do you see it coming back to normal?
I think we will return to norm. When that will happen, obviously, is dependent upon many things, but obviously also dependent upon legislations put in place by various international governments. Here in the UK, I'm confident that by September, October, we will have crowds back, whether that's outdoors, whether that's indoor, whether that's 25% capacity, 50% capacity, 100% capacity, who knows? It seems like certain states in America are not slowing down. Some are still spiking. Yes, which doesn't look good. I think the bigger challenge for boxing is to try and come back with, for me, it's not good enough to come back just with boxing. You have to come back with the right product, because if you come back with a poor product, people are soon going to forget, oh, thank you for coming back. We're just glad you're back, with, oh, we don't like boxing anymore. It's boring. So we're competing against other live sports now. So the product's got to be good. And I think the biggest challenge for boxing with no crowds is how to drive the revenue to ensure that big fights happen. Now, when you look at people who drive significant revenue to the gate, people like Anthony Joshua, people like Canelo Alvarez, even the Fury Wilder fight, these are fights and fighters that are dependent on a 5, 10, 15, $20 million gate. So if you take that revenue out of the pot, then all of a sudden the money looks very, very different. Promoters will try to decrease purses. They'll try to get more money from broadcasters. But the truth is as well is that a fight behind closed doors, some broadcasters may perceive that is not delivering the same kind of value.
Before you move any further, just because besides the finances, we're also talking about very critical conditions for training, for just getting in shape. So now I'm going to ask you an even broader question. I understand the finances, the purses. Let's look upon the quality of entertainment, which you just mentioned. How do we maintain that quality of boxing to stay up to par with other competing sports, like you just mentioned, baseball, football, snookers? I mean, Olympic, different sporting events they're going to have to reinvent themselves. How do we maintain that quality of entertainment?
I think by having competitive fights. One thing about boxing is, of course, we know what drives viewership. We know what drives subscriptions. It's the big names in compelling fights. So I feel like behind closed doors, without that energy, without that atmosphere, you need to make sure that the fights are very, very competitive. Even if that means putting one of your B-level guys in with one of your B-level guys. What we don't want to see is an A-level guy in with an E-level guy, because with no atmosphere, with no crowd, with no ring walks, with no energy, it's not going to be good TV. And I think from a TV product point of view, what we also need to do is emphasize on some of the great things of the sport, some of the things that show the brutality of the sport, so the drama of the sport. I'm talking about making sure, as you can do in this kind of environment, hearing the punches rain down. When you get one in the rib cage and you hear the opponent or the fighter, they go back to the corner. Let's mic up every member of the corner team. Let's make sure we hear everything. Let's hear the fighters talking to each other in the fight that we know happens. So as a TV product, we need to work on some things that some hardcore fight fans have probably been starved of over the years. They love to hear corner talk. In fact, they always hope that sometimes the commentators will be quiet during the round so we can try and hear. Now you will. But still, with our plan here, we want to give that razzmatazz of ring walks and fireworks and music and, that great look of a major event. That's important. And that's why I'm trying to, move against. Our first show on DAZN is going to be in Tulsa. It's going to be on the streets of Tulsa, in amongst the skyscrapers there. It's going to be a wonderful visual, because when you turn the TV on, I just feel like has to compel you. You know, you can't just turn it on and go, oh, what is this? Is this a game show or is this a fight? You know, it's got to be something where you're drawn to, you're intrigued by it. And the truth is, boxing behind closed doors, if we can get the TV product right, in terms of, you know, the things we talked about just now, it is compelling and it is intriguing, but it'll only last so long. You know, you can get away with it for a month or 2 months, and then
Especially
people
when
want
we
the crowds back. Yeah,
Especially
but people,
when we come from a drought.
yes, exactly. So it's, you know, oh, it's boxing behind closed doors. I'm intrigued to see how this will look, how this will sound, if I'll enjoy it or not. Will I listen with sound on, sound off? You know, all this kind of stuff. But then after 4 or 5 weeks or 4 or 5 shows, it's going to be, okay, well, so I've seen that now. We want the razzmatazz back. We want that big event feel back. We're restricted by that. And, you know, that's something we can't control. But I think in the meantime, we have enough time to deal with this before the big crowds come back.
You just mentioned a couple of networks, and obviously we have new kids coming into the block, and some kids, you know, the old timers, the legacies, they've moved on. And obviously the visions of how the sport is going to be portrayed and presented differs, but I digress. There's different opinions on how to present the product in the best way. We also have to have a meeting of the minds between fighters, promoters, networks, and different organizing entities like the WBA. Do you think it's going to come to a time where we will set a parameter with minimal principles that will benefit the sport and create the storylines and make it mainstream? Will that benefit the sport in a particular way? Do you see that happening sometime soon?
Do you mean more people working
together
with each other together?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, we come from a sport where, unfortunately, you know, the powers that be don't particularly like each other, you know, or don't particularly want to work with each other, and that's a big problem in moving a sport forward. But we also have to understand that as promoters, we all have jobs to deliver the best stable and the best fights to the network that we are signed to. So for us, we want to make sure we deliver the best stable and best fights for DAZN. For Top Rank, they want to deliver the best fights and best stable for ESPN. For Al Heyman, he wants to deliver the best fights, best stable for Fox or Showtime. And it's not just that we don't like each other, it's our jobs to try and keep those fighters on those platforms. Now, when a fight comes around where there's a cross-platform problem, if the fight is big enough, they'll find a solution. Pacquiao against Mayweather, Fury Wilder just recently, where they essentially shared the broadcast. Hopefully, Errol Spence, Errol Spence against Terence Crawford. You know, so, but I think that hopefully what's happened in the world will make people want to work together a little bit more closer. I think sometimes you need something like this to sort of leave the grudges at the door, you know, and say, come on, let's smile a little bit. Let's all be friends. You know, everybody is in love with the sport of boxing, so we all have to act in the right way, and that does mean working together. Will that ever work? Who knows? You know, it hasn't really yet, but generally when a fight is big enough, it will work.
Exactly. Meeting of the minds, which leads me to the next question, because in those fights that you just mentioned, we had also a combination, not just entities, broadcasters, promoters. We also had a completely new way of presenting the fight. And on that note, I'm just going to pause it real quick just to make sure that Gilberto can hear us.
I don't know. Can you listen to me now or not?
I can hear you perfectly.
Finally.
Thank you. Thank you. We were, and again, I presented you as part of a long line of boxing promoters, especially coming from Latin America. It was fantastic to have representation. So we're honored to be among royalty in the world of boxing, both in Europe and America. So thank you, Gilberto, for celebrating this 99th convention. And on that note, before I go any further, because we just talked about networks, we just talked about promoters, now I want to talk about entities like the WBA, WBO, what have you. What is the state of the WBA now in the 99th convention, looking at almost 100 years of existence?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank Eddie for his time. He's always busy. I want to listen a little bit. I'm curious about that fight camp. I don't know what's going on there. And what I heard, it was the house where he grew up. You know, this
The
is
headquarters, yeah.
yeah, that's how passion is so linked to us. You know, then there's a nice story about it. There was a very good relationship between Barry, his father, and my father. But we never knew about it. We don't know too much details. We only know that we were born into it, and we kind of inherited the friendship and perhaps the good energy between both. Regarding sanctioning bodies, organization, I hate when they call me sanctioning bodies, to be honest, because that limits the organization just for a belt. Recently, with all the changes we're living, I think the WBA at this point, as a structure, I'm not going to talk to financially, because financially the situation is hurting us a lot. We are living from basically a savings of whatever we receive. Sometimes we have to ask for advanced sanctioning fees, for example, you know. And but in a structure, being able to work with the amateurs, being able to have an academy, and being able to develop boxing in a systematic way, that's our target. I believe we have to start acting as international organizations and not sanctioning bodies. That's one of my main goals. I have a lot of ideas to work along with promoters like Eddie. I want to support Eddie 100%, even though the sport is kind of difficult. At this point, we're kind of small leagues separated, because it's very difficult sometimes to get the big fights going on. And that's one thing that I think the fans deserve. Then we talk about perhaps a monopoly sometimes. You know, sometimes the promoters need like to have a whole organization for himself at some points in order to develop better fights and in order to develop stars. But as now, I think we have a good foundation. We have to figure out, you know, how we're going to deal with this COVID. We have to be flexible with promoters. You know, we are expecting how the big fights are going to come back, because the big fights are very, very, very important for the WBA, for the WBO, for the WBC, for the fans, of course. But we're looking at ourselves right now in the WBA farther than just putting a title and being a supervisor for the fight. We're trying to give back boxing something, and that's where we're focusing our structure.
And we were just talking about how the different entities and sanctioning bodies, like you mentioned, and promoters and fighters, they have to come into a meeting of minds in order to make, like what you just mentioned, those big fights. It has happened before, only in 3 occasions, and which I find kind of odd for the history, the long and very rich history that boxing has. In your mind, what has to change in order for all these different brilliant minds come together and maybe make a minimum policy and principles to facilitate that, what you just mentioned, the big fights, the creation of new talent, the creation of new stars? How do you see that happening?
When we start working with the amateurs, one of our main goals when we start working with AIBA, and then we start working with the federations, and that has to be with the last question. I do believe we need, as a sport, to have a draft. Boxers coming from the Olympics, but all bodies have to somehow be developed, be part of the development of these fighters, and that's what we're targeting at this point. And how to make big fights happen? Well, we have 4 different presidents and a lot of different promoters, big promoters, because I think Matchroom, I think Heyman, I think Golden Boy, you know, at top rank, are at the top, at the peak, are making the difference always, you know, trying to have the big fights. That's very difficult. We have tried before. Last time we met was 2014. We were planning on having something like a tournament of champions, but at some points, you know, also fighters, also promoters, they need their business model to be working on, and it's kind of difficult. What we can do, we're always open, but I do think, you know, the main promoters have to sit down with us, with all the president of the sanctioning bodies. We have to put rules that perhaps we're not going to like, perhaps what promoters not going to like, but try to make something happen. You know, I will take as an example the World Boxing Super Series, but I think bodies with the main promoters should be governing those tournaments and have some kind of network, since the promoters are the one who are linked to the networks, to find a way. It's just a matter of being diplomatic and working in something that could be real.
A give and take. I think eventually that will happen. And we just mentioned the different ways of doing business, like you just mentioned. There was a time when HBO and Showtime were the owners of anything that had to do with distribution of boxing. Sky Sports has been around for a long time. Now we have new kids in the block. ESPN, obviously, now having that second surge. DAZN has been around, but now we have streaming, live streaming. I mean, the digital world has taken over distribution of all sports. Boxing is definitely not an exception. Especially to you, Eddie, this question goes to you because you've actually taken a forefront in this movement, and you've chosen to not only stream your own properties, but also very active in social media. How has this changed your business?
Well, I think when we talk about social media, firstly, it's, we're very lucky as promoters to have that tool and that ability to grow that following and communicate directly with fans. My dad always laughs and says that it's easy now. He says when he was promoting, they had to go to, train stations, underground station, put up posters around the wall, give out leaflets to people in the city and stuff like that. And that's really the rawness and the art of promoting, is to do that. Obviously, with a digital footprint and with a big social media base, we should make sure that we take advantage of that. And it's something that we spend a huge amount of time doing it. Over the last, 10 years, I've consistently grown that following online across our social media networks and platforms, so much so that we now have, a division here in London, in New York. We have our own social media teams, and it's grown to a point where it's probably one of the most important parts of our business. It's not just the social media platforms, it's about digital content as well. It's about shoulder programming, it's about building stories and understanding characters and personalities, because if you don't build the fighters, if you don't build the stories around the fights, the fans don't have anything to get their teeth into. So that's very important to us as well. So as much as we invest on the social media side, we also invest into the digital content and the production of programming as well outside of the fights. I feel like that has become as important now. And when you talk about streaming partners, that digital platform and that programming has seen businesses like Netflix expand into with their content. If you look at things like Drive to Survive, the latest Formula One series, which is effectively shoulder programming, telling you the story of Formula One and the characters of Formula One, that creates so much interest for people outside of the sport to be curious enough to come in and have a look. When you talk about streaming platforms, DAZN have been fantastic. They've moved away from the one-off pay-per-view payments that other networks have used, which quite frankly still astounds me to this day, the price point of those in America. If you're asking someone to pay $90 for a pay-per-view one night of boxing, I don't see how there can be a future at that price point, but people will pay for the bigger fights. I think DAZN have been a revelation for boxing. They've invested, they've made sure big fights have been made. The talent on their platform, I feel, is second to none. But like other platforms and like ESPN and so forth, they have just gone probably nearly 4 months without live sport, which for a live sport platform is very difficult. Just like for us, we're a live event company. We've had no live events for 4 months.
Yes.
Gilberto is the governing body of an organisation that relies on events, and there's been no events for 4 months. So there's no one that won't be hurting in this situation. And I think it doesn't matter whether it's DAZN, doesn't matter if it's Fox, ESPN. We do have to somehow work together to try and bring the sport back as strong as possible. And I think Gilberto's comments were spot on about other organisations. Like in the past, rules, egos, whatever it is, have sometimes stopped major fights from happening. Maybe that's because of a mandatory situation. Maybe that's because one governing body doesn't like another governing body. But I kind of feel like while we must always follow rules and we must always respect people's rights, we do need to say throw the rule book out the window, but we do need to just think smart now and say, look, we need to make sure we do the right things. Otherwise the sport is going to suffer and we might not be back to where we were. So, you know, Gilberto will tell you, it's not just the egos of promoters, it's the egos of the governing bodies as well. Not, you know, sometimes you have an argument with someone, you don't like him, no, and sometimes it's our fault that we will, you know, that ego will stand in the way of making a fight. Okay, but I think that changed now. You know, we all know that we have to work together, otherwise things may not be the same.
I totally agree. And going to Gilberto, you guys have done, yes.
I'd like to make a comment about it because it's funny, you know, that's the way I look at boxing, the same way as you, Eddie, because I grew up in this sanctioning bodies, boxing all around. And it is true, you know, sometimes at certain points, let's say 20 years ago, everything was handled like, oh, Barry is my friend, so I got to give him you know, I got to give him any kind of favor from the body. So they start lobbying for whatever, let's say for Prince Hamed, whatever, for a special permit, for whatever situation it happened. And it is true, we have to follow the rules, but sometimes at the end of the day, we are flexible, we bend a little bit in order to make whatever satisfies that person. So you become like, you know, supposed to be friends, but at the end, you know, we have taken decisions against Matchroom sometimes, and, you know, you can take it, and we keep going on. Yeah, and we're going on. We know we're just thinking the next business we can do together, perhaps in one situation. But at those days in the past, what happened was, is like, oh, this organization is not giving me what I want perhaps for one decision, and then they break through, or somebody wants, according to their egos, they want to make somebody mandatory, for an example, and they don't. Let's say any fight, I would like to become. I think it was whenever any decision, you know, wants to they need for ego. Like, for example, there might be a big fight like Canelo and Triple G, and you have a mandatory contender, and you want to make it happen because you have the rights, but at the same time, you know that it's a huge fight that has to happen. But then the number one contender starts putting pressure on Eddie not to get you through with the big fights when the fans want the big fights. That's what I mean. You know, it happens many times, and that's the most difficult part. That's why I say that we got to bring all the big promoters together, at least four. A group of four that have major fighters, put some kind of fair rules playbook on it. Try to respect it a little bit and makes the big fight happen. To be honest with you, sometimes the small promoters are the ones, I don't have nothing against small promoters, but some small promoters rely a lot on sanctioning bodies, which makes a balance. So it's kind of a difficult situation. Not easy.
I think the sport requires for the sanctioning bodies, the promoters, to come together, and for the sake of the sport, in order to maintain, like Eddie said at the very beginning, it's a sport that, due to the situation that we're living in, could be extinct. And leads me to my next question. More and more young people forget about mixed martial arts, forget about all the UFCs and the prides and the what have yous and the bare knuckles. Now, esports is the most prominent activity among 18 to 35. How do you guys first see that? Is that a challenge? Is that a threat to the livelihood of live sports in general, of boxing? Like you said, Eddie, before, that the history of boxing is actually dwindling. Most people are forgetting who Muhammad Ali was, Pared. I mean, the whole environment of boxing is one that is not sitting well with the new generation. How do you see esports as the new challenge in the entertainment industry? And I'm going to start with you, Eddie.
Well, I think we have to embrace it because it's, you know, the habits of the viewer, you know, and the audience. So what we have to do is we must always evolve. We can't rely on our existing audience because that audience ages. You know, before you know it, you will have a sport where you have an aging fan base, which is probably the worst thing that could ever happen to a sport. So, you know, if you look at what we did last year, we took a lot of criticism for staging the KSI against Logan Paul fight. I think you were part of the team there, and it was just incredible. You know, for people that were there that night, when you looked in the arena, you know, and the average age is probably somewhere between 16 and 19, something like that. And it was like a nightclub. There was so much energy, and it was so pleasing for me to have an arena at Staples Center full of people that have probably never watched boxing before. You know, watching Devin Haney, watching Billy Joe Saunders, watching all these guys. And the great thing was, on that particular night, KSI against Logan Paul was actually the best fight of the night. You know, but the 25 million YouTube subscribers that they have each or plus spent that period of 8 or 9 weeks following them training, you know, watching them around other fighters, understanding the sacrifices of the sport of boxing, learning about other fighters, going to gyms themselves. So for me, when you're selling something, it always relies on the quality of the product. And for me, boxing is the greatest product of all. It's the greatest sport of all. So I don't feel like it should be difficult to make people understand that. Now, we know that viewers these days, you know, we have to understand their habits and their rituals. They don't like to sit down on a sofa and watch the TV anymore for 4 or 5 hours. They want it on their go. They want it in their hand. You know, they want short, fast, punchy content. You know, they want shoulder programming. They want to understand, you know, they want role models. It's got to be cool. It's got to be funky. It's got to be sexy. There's got to be music. There's got to be celebrities. And we just got to understand that new audience. I feel like too many promoters don't understand it. And, you know, even at 41, I'm the youngest promoter out there.
Yes.
You know, I mean, Bob Arum is a legend, right, of promoting, but does he understand that new audience? I think it's impossible to. My dad certainly doesn't, and he's 72, right? So you have to evolve with that audience, and that was a great experiment for us, because that is the new audience. And you know, the problem with boxing sometimes is that it's so intrinsic, and you know, we're so passionate and tight about it that we don't want to let it go, right? So people will say, "Oh, Logan Paul, KSI, or did you see all those kids that have never even watched boxing before?" I mean, it's like, open your mind. That's the only way the sport's going to grow. If you don't grow the audience, if you don't expose the new audience or that casual fan base to the sport, they won't learn, they won't follow, and they won't watch. And therefore, you have no new audience. So we're very protective as a sport about, you know, the ethics of boxing and what's right or wrong. But every now and again, you've got to roll the dice a little bit, and you've got to think outside the box. Gilberto has, you know, these governing bodies, they have sometimes the toughest job of all.
I was just going to mention that.
They take a lot of criticism for, you know, it might be a regular belt, say, you know, or a final eliminator or whatever it is. You have to understand, Gilberto's getting 30 phone calls a day. 5 of those are from me, you know, asking, can we do this? Can we do that? Can we do this? And the truth is that a lot of times, without his support, we can't grow stories. We can't bring in a broadcaster to show certain fights. So,
stars, people that relate to that young crowd.
Yes, but the decisions that Gilberto makes, he's the one that will get criticised, right? But he has a very difficult job because he's being hounded by people, and he will want to help, you know, fighters. He will want to believe in ideas or support broadcasters or support promoters. So sometimes fans have got to understand the difference between what they feel is, you know, oh, that's, you know, not following the code of boxing, the ethics of boxing. Of course, we must always do that. But we have to, you know, we have to have an open mind where we can grow the sport. And, you know, unfortunately, every decision that Gilberto might make to help, you know, a fighter or a plan or an idea or a broadcaster will get its own criticism, and he's the one that will get blamed for it. But, you know, it's not just the WBA, it's all these governing bodies. That isn't. Some people make right decisions, some people make wrong decisions. We're all guilty of that. But nothing changes, as I said before, with the outset. We all love the sport. WBA and Gilberto, who has been around boxing since he was in a nappy, you know, he loves the sport of boxing. And no decision that he makes is to affect the history of the sport or the ethics of the sport. it's only to try and help and grow the sport. So, you know, no one's going to, as much stick as he gets, same kind of the thing with us, you know, the stick that we got around the KSI Logan Paul fight. It's a huge success, did massive numbers globally. And the amount of people that have written to me saying, oh, thanks for doing it. Now, I'm talking about Logan Paul and KSI fans. I really got into boxing. If it's not watching it now, it might be training, you know, but it doesn't matter. Anything that can grow the industry is important. And I feel like sometimes, you know, there are too many dinosaurs who aren't understanding the new world.
Eddie, why don't you tell me exactly how you feel?
Yeah, well, I just did.
But now this question goes to you, Gilberto, because he just mentioned this new generation that might not identify themselves with the iconic figures that we all grew up watching. So what is the biggest challenge for this entity to create those new names, to create those new personas that will take boxing to the new era?
You know, I got to go back to the story. I was a weird guy. I was a weird kid because I used to read a lot about boxing. I was teaching my friends who Muhammad Ali was, who Joe Frazier was, who Joe Louis was. So I kind of created with my passion a little bit around my circle a little bit. But the rest of the people at those points, they also didn't know too much about boxing. But there was a Duran, and boxing had like more like in the spotlight those days. I totally agree with Eddie. And actually, I want to add as a fact that I have been approached approximately by 5 or 6 YouTubers who want me to train them to face Paul Logan. They want me to train to face Paul Logan. They want to do it. You know, not only men, girls came in and said, do you think I have a shot of fighting another girl? Can we make this fight happen?
Yes.
They asked me, you know, so I have like proposals for that. Perhaps we can do a tournament, you know, somehow, recognizing an entertainment YouTuber channel. I don't have any kind of problem with that. As long as boxing, we can adapt ourselves to the new scenario, to the new situation, to the new trends. You know what's difficult? That my daughters don't know exactly who was Muhammad Ali, and they had to know who was Roberto Duran because we lived in Panama for 11, 12 years, but they know who Conor McGregor is. And they know who Floyd Mayweather is. And at some point, Floyd Mayweather played a little bit with the social media, like Ryan Garcia. But we need that fan base because we're constantly asked about mixed martial arts. We usually get that question: why? If we're worried, why? How they came? No, but I think it's just what Eddie was saying. I think we have to have some kind of offer. And besides that, I have seen that tournaments like you did, Eddie, and when people can watch a competitive fight, even if it's 3 or 4 rounds, 3 minutes, they will enjoy it sometimes more than a championship fight. And that's another challenge we have to look forward into it. We need to construct story. We need to build up stories, and that's true. Now that you were talking about that, I don't know if I can bring up the Kansu and Warrington, just an example. I'm dealing with that situation right now. It's a headache, but it's not because I know it's a huge fight. We're gonna bring a Chinese guy to England. I think the best fan base in boxing in the world are the English people. I'll take that for you guys. The best. I mean, I have been in so many fights in my life, and I wrote that in a letter to Eddie after the Klitschko and Joshua fight. I've never been with so much energy, with the singing, you know, with Sweet Carolina, you know, everything going along in that fight. And now that we have a huge chance of bringing a Chinese guy to face Josh Warrington, the English and the Chinese market, we can open the Chinese market. I have a situation with another sanctioning body that got it fixed. I got to do a lot of things will make a lot of people angry, but I'm pro that fight, and that's right. Whatever I do, good or bad, I'm gonna be, you know, I'm gonna be criticized somehow.
But you're gonna do it for the right reasons.
But we need that fight. The boxing.
Right.
We need that fight. You know, it will be huge. I see it huge, Eddie. So I'm 100% with you.
Good,
I don't know. Some kind of relief about it.
IBF might not be, but we'll see.
Okay, so before we move along, I just want to tell everybody that's attending the webinar to send their questions through the chat application. And that way, both Eddie and Gilberto get a chance to answer those. We're also going live on the YouTube channel for the WBA, so they can also include their questions through that chat. and then they'll make it available to us. In the meantime, there's a lot of people that have a lot of questions, but they haven't made them available to me. I just wanted to let them know and prepare you guys for the questions from the people that are joining us. I also wanted to, you guys did talk about the different relationships and the functions. And do you think we will be able to bring back to boxing to its glory days? You guys mentioned a few names that were very strong, that created fans like myself since I was 5 or 6 years old. There seems to be a lack of, I'm not going to say talent, but recognized names that become brands. How far are we into it? Do we really have those driving names that can bring the different attention to not only the audience, but that will click in and watch in the different platforms?
Yeah, I think we do. But I think, it's our job as promoters to grow those names, and it's not something, you don't grow a brand of a fighter once he wins a world title. You build it from the debut. You make people engage with that fighter. You build his social media fan base. You make sure that people can follow his journey. And when you talk about names in sport at the moment, for sure, you've got Anthony Joshua, you've got Canelo Alvarez, in all different territories around the world. You've got Alexander Usyk and Vasily Lomachenko from the Eastern Bloc, Gennady Golovkin. As Gilberto said, you've got Kanzu from China. You've got Tim Tszyu at the moment coming out of Australia, and Jeff Horn, and you've got fighters everywhere. So I feel that we always need more superstars. We always need more superstars. They come around and they're like London buses. You wait for them, and then all of a sudden about 10 of them come at once, as we say over here.
I guess I come from a different era where the world stopped for a boxing match. The world stopped. I saw Happy Lora, I saw Roberto Manos de Piedra Duran, I saw Muhammad Ali. And these were the names that I grew up with. And of course, the governing bodies at the time were very good at supporting those names and making them part of our household. How close are we to create those Julio Cesar Chavez's of the world and that transcend the sport and will be part of history-making events? Gilberto.
Okay, when we were preparing these forums, I was with my team, and I'm just going to leave you an exercise with it. I have my conclusion regarding the stars. I think boxing has always has ups and downs along history. So we went back and said, I asked them, can you name me in the 60s, in the 70s, in all these decades from 2020 until the 60s, can you name me at least 4 fighters of each era? And at the end, we figure out, when we went back, we had the 4 kings, like that. I think that's your era: Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearn, Roberto Duran. So we kept going on there, Mayweather, De La Hoya, the Trinidad. So, those were their stars. There were many stars in the back, like Hopkins, but he didn't get the same attention when he belongs to that era. But when we were just looking at boxing, has always has around 4 or 5 during all these times. So if you do that exercise mentally, but without looking, without Google, without nothing, you go from the 60s to the 2020, you're going to see there's always 4 or 5 that make the difference when we're talking about superstars, and that's where we are heading for. Regarding the part of the Latinos, when you were mentioning the Durans, we couldn't do nothing without the promoters, because at some point, Eddie, I tell him, look, this fighter is good, and he takes a risk because, he has to introduce a Latino guy who doesn't speak the language wherever he is, where still the story's not built up yet. And usually these Latinos fighters, they have to build up themselves by punches, by suffering, by coming in tough fights always. We doesn't make a lot, but they take, without them, we couldn't do it either. And I think, yes, we're going to build, we can still make a fan base. And actually, with all the platforms we have right now, what was Eddie saying that, caught me in my attention, that all my kids, all my sons, they want everything fast. They just go on the phone. And if they're hungry, they go back to an app. If they're this, they go back to an app. And I think we have a lot of resources. Along with the YouTubers, I will go back again, because that's a tendency right now. In order to develop stars, you can mix it up. Eddie processes excellent content with social media. I think my team does a hell of a job with the social media as well, with this convention. So this is, I think it's challenging, but we're here to work. It's going to be tough to recover from the COVID, but I do think boxing will continue doing big stars. I just think an amateur draft will help a lot to develop stories, and a fan zone where you can share with them through platforms as well. Just small things that come up to my mind.
Before we move any further, I just want to say greetings to Ron Pavet from British Boxing Board of Control in Kazakhstan, from Professional Boxing Federation. Greetings, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And Luther Francis, Deportes para Todos, Pan Deportes. Thank you for joining us. And real quick question, Nicolas from Nicolas Valenzuela, he says that in his experience, the video games can bring a new product to the new generation of public that could add to boxing. I think we touched upon this lightly. Do you guys think boxing is ready to be part of this new video game era? I'm not sure how they combine, but I'm asking that to both panelists.
Well, I think you only have to see from the social media the desire and the demand for a new fight game. I mean, I put a post up, I don't know, a couple of months ago saying, retweet if you want a new fight game. My God, I mean, it was like 30,000 retweets just like this,
I was one.
I keep talking, I've been plaguing EA Sports to produce a new fight night. They have a deal with the UFC. It's actually a little bit of news coming in the next sort of 10 days about a little bit of it. Not a new game, but just a bit of fun news. But we're working on a number of concepts at the moment around a new game. I think when you talk about the new audience and the habits of the new audience and esports, there is definitely a major link between gaming and growth of sports. Whether it's the FIFA game around football, whether it's a basketball game, the NBA game around basketball, we must have a fight sports game. But like all these things, when you talk about building stars, promoters are important, but so are broadcasters. And when you talk about gaming, we're important, the sport's important, but not as important as the software company or the gaming company who are going to pay for the thing, So I think a fight game would be absolutely huge. And I'm under a bit of pressure now because I've told people that I'm going to try and get it done. And this was at the start of COVID, and I've had other things on my plate, but I haven't given up. We are talking to a few software companies, and we'll see where it goes.
And we're rooting for you. Thank you so much, Eddie, for all the effort that you put forth in keeping our sport, moving and carrying along. Both of you guys are obviously jewels in our sport. Thank you, Gilberto, for putting this together. We have come to the end of this webinar. If you guys, Eddie, you would like to join us on the gender equality side of...
I'm into another meeting now, but again, when we talk about gender equality, just quickly, we'll say on that, women's boxing is, I can't tell you the rate that is moving at. Katie Taylor, for me, one of my favorite fighters of all time, who's lucky enough, and she won her first ever world championship belt, was the WBA belt, which she won in front of 80,000 people. She gives a fight here at Fight Camp, and I feel that there is such a huge opportunity for women's boxing to keep evolving. When we talk about the politics of sport, that doesn't really exist yet in women's boxing, and it's so refreshing to see the best fight the best all the time. Katie Taylor, since she won a world title, I think she's unified 3 times. She's had the undisputed fight. She's moved up. She's boxed another champion. It's so refreshing, and I hope that women's boxing continues to thrive.
Thank you, and we count on your support. And we definitely, you gotta vote on me. I got it. Thank you, Eddie, for joining us. Gilberto, thank you so much. And Max, I think this is your turn.
I'll be right back in 5 minutes, please.
Thank you. We can't hear you.
Thank you very much to Claudia for some amazing work in this forum of challenges of boxing. Of course, we thank again Eddie Hearn for his participation, and of course, Gilberto, Jesús, Mendoza. We had a great time with you, Claudia. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much. I'm going to just take a quick break because I want to be back so I can see the gender equality.
You
So
have to.
Yes, I'll be right back.
Perfect. So we keep going with our agenda of this third day of the 99 convention of the WBA. This is just a little bit taste of what it's going to be our 100th anniversary in 2021 with that marvelous convention that we are organizing in Moscow, Russia. So we already enjoyed the forum of boxing challenges with Hearn, Claudia Trejos, and the president, Gilberto Jesús Mendoza. Before we keep going, we remember you guys, we already see Hanna Gabriels, and we see Hanna Gabriels. Why? Hi, Hanna. Because she will lead our next forum, that is gender equality in boxing, a really important matter that we want to treat in this 99 convention. We quick remind you guys to download the Interprefy app, because with the Interprefy app, you can enjoy the simultaneous translation, English to Spanish and Spanish to English, because there are the two languages that we are, of course, using in this 99 convention. So let's take a quick look of what are we going to discuss and what we are going to offer in this second forum.
Thank you so much, Maximiliano. I want to say hi to everybody. Hanna Gabriels speaking. Miriam Gutiérrez is here. Hi, how are you? ¿Cómo estás?
Can you guys hear me? No. ¿Ahora me escucháis?
Yes, Miriam, we are hearing you loud and clear. Miriam Gutiérrez is already joining our digital scenario of this next forum that we will start just in a few minutes. Claressa Shields and Orlando Cruz are also joining us just in a few minutes to continue with our activities in this 99 convention of the World Boxing Association. Remember that you can follow us in our social medias.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, we
Hi.
are also listening to Orlando Cruz, and I think we are also listening.
Yeah, I am here. You hear me? You heard me?
Yes, Orlando, we can hear you.
But I can't.
And also, Claressa Shields, we ask you guys to activate your webcam when it's possible, so we have the whole panel ready to start.
Hi, you guys hear me?
Yes, Claressa, we hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. Sorry, I'm using my phone, so I don't think I can be on the screen because of that.
Okay, we understand. Yes, our technical team is trying to activate your cameras. It's like you guys said, maybe you are through your mobiles and not through a computer, and that may be, of course, not possible to have your image. I don't know if for you guys it's possible to connect through a computer to be able to see you. So we will wait for that. Meanwhile, we're solving this technical things. We remind you that you can follow us through our social media, our YouTube channel, and through our website, wbaboxing.com, when you can find not just our activities for these days for the 99 convention, but also the fan zone that we prepare for you. We are just getting ready for this gender equality in boxing forum, and after that, we will have the Olympic boxing forum with Clemente, Russo, Omar Narváez, Miguel Torruco, Ricardo Contreras, Yordanis, Despaigne. So we have a lot of activities, and then 4 p.m. Eastern time, through Zoom, because we are using all the technology here in the WBA, we will have also a special chat with Amir Khan, but that will be remembered through Zoom. So you have to be aware of all our communications through email, through social media, to be connected to all our activities. I don't know if maybe before we start, we can welcome Hanna Gabriels, that will be our host. A few words before we start with our subject. Hanna, how you doing? Good day, buenos días.
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Buenos días, Maximiliano. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure for me to be here and to be a part of this great forum. And I want to welcome Miriam Gutiérrez, who is a participant of this forum as well. Claressa Shields. Apparently, we're not going to be able to see a couple of our panelists for today because the cameras are not working. Also want to say hi to Inés Estrada and the great champion Orlando Cruz as well.
Miriam,
good morning, thank you.
Hello, guys. You can say hi if you want.
Hi, guys. Good morning.
Aquí desde España, un saludo muy grande a todos. Y la verdad es que, bueno, por aquí son tardes. La verdad es que muy contento también de estar dentro de la convención para poder hablar con vosotros. Y bueno, vamos a escuchar ahora todas las propuestas y todo lo que se pueda llegar a hablar respecto al tema de la igualdad, que es lo más bonito.
Gracias, Miriam. Thank you, Miriam. So I just remind you guys to download the Interprefy app through Google Play, through App Store. That, of course, depends which device do you have. You download the app, you open the app, and then you put the following token, WBA 99 Convention, with the T, of course. And with that, you will be able to enjoy the simultaneous translation, English to Spanish and Spanish to English. Le recordamos a todos descargar la aplicación Interprefy en Google Play, en App Store, dependiendo cuál sea su dispositivo, y luego, una vez que abran la aplicación, colocan el token WBA 99 Convention, con T, todo en mayúsculas para poder disfrutar de la traducción. Okay, so we're ready to start. Hanna, I will give you the floor, and I hope you enjoy this important forum of gender equality in boxing. All yours, Hanna.
Thank you so much. Good morning. I would like to have Orlando and Claressa and Siniesa have greeting the people that we have today. Maybe we can start with Orlando, please. Orlando, can you activate your audio, please? Or maybe we can go to Siniesa Estrada, please. Can you say hi to everybody? Miriam Gutiérrez already did.
Do you hear me?
Yes, Orlando, I hear you now.
Thank you so much, everyone. I can't see, I'm sorry, I can't see you, but you don't see me. I don't know what happened with my camera. But I mean, I am very happy to stay with you, with other Alex and the Bostons. So very happy. I am right now in Miami. So thank you for everyone for opportunity to stay here, you know, talking to the problem with the boxing, with you, with me, with the general, you know, the gay community, you know. So it's very important for me.
It is a pleasure. Claressa, would you like to say hi? We are not able to hear Claressa right now, but Siniesa, would you like to say hi?
Hi, good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to say hi and good morning, and thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to discuss these issues. It's something that we need to discuss and people need to hear about. And let's get this gender equality thing going. I'm excited.
Excellent. Claressa, you there?
No, I think no.
I can see her audio is on and everything, but I'm not able to hear her. Well, maybe we can wait for her. Claressa, feel free to say hi whenever you're able to. I'd like to start to say that when it comes to gender equality, we have a long, long, long way to go still. But there's there is history that has been paid for us from many, many women. I would like to start with saying that all public spaces were considered were restricted for women, and the sports were not an exception. In 1917. 14 in England, there was a boxer called named Elizabeth Wilkinson, and she was considered like a monster that will amuse people and appearing in the ring until she became a champion. But she did that without being recognized by it. There were several that were dedicated to boxing until Barbara Burrick in 1930 became a pioneer of the professional women's boxing, and she was dedicated until 1948. She was the first public figure in boxing. She had to immigrate to the United States because she was not able to succeed at her hometown. And it says that she immigrated to the United States to be able to enjoy what she loved, but she was degraded for liking boxing. Also, the modern Olympic Games were created in 1896, but women's boxing were included until 2012. So that means 8 years ago. We have seen many, many, many great women participating in the Olympic Games. And this is something that I would like us to address because it just seems so crazy that we are allowed to be in the Olympics until now. We have the great Claressa Shields here, which was a two-time Olympic champion and was lucky enough to leave that experience, and we will have her talk to us about it as well. And we are coming here to talk about gender equality rights, and we want to express how we feel about all these things. I would like to make a question to all of the participants here. Have you ever been discriminated or felt that you were discriminated in or out of the ring? Who would like to go first?
Can you guys hear me yet?
Oh, we can hear you now.
Yes, we can hear you now. You can say hi, Claressa.
Hey, hi everybody. Sorry, I had the mute button on.
No problem. No problem. Would you like to say hi to everybody that is watching right now?
Hey, I can't really see anybody, but Hanna, Miriam, I know Sinisi is on. And who else is on?
And Orlando.
Orlando. Hey, everybody.
Yeah, I'm on.
So I'm sorry. Were you able to hear the question that I did to everybody?
Yeah, you said, has anybody ever felt discriminated against in
either in or out the ring? Would you like to go first and give your opinion, please?
Sure. I can't say that I felt discriminated against in the ring, because I feel like I like a decent shake as far as the women's boxing so far. We're near close quality for sure, but you know, I have 10 fights and I fought in 3 different divisions already, and I make more than a lot of women make in women's boxing, and I feel like I'm just trying to get it to where it's a bigger number. But just outside the ring, some of the discrimination that I've had to deal with is just how people feel that women should conduct themselves. Like, men can go around and say, hey, I want to knock this guy out. You know, I'm the GOAT, I'm the best. But when a woman says it, people look at it as if it's not ladylike, and as if, you know, we should have more of a quiet voice and more of just go in the ring and be beast, but then get outside the ring and be, you know, very soft-spoken and, you know, wear skirts and, you know, just be ladies. And it's like, yeah, that's like, that works for some people, but you also have to give us the chance to sell a fight. You have to give us the chance to trash talk to where people want to see a fight. I mean, if I would just be like, oh, I just love my opponents and they're so beautiful and they're so pretty and we're going to have great competition, I don't think that people will really tune in. So like, you have to say like, hey, I'm going to whip her ass, you know? And I think that in boxing, they give men permission to say all these things. And then for the women, they're like, oh no, tone it down. So that's some of the discrimination that I've had to deal with. And of course, like the pay gap, I'm always constantly trying to make them, I want to make $1 million for a purse and I'm at 300,000, but I'm like, look, pay me, you know, if I'm fighting for this many belts and I'm losing weight, you know, pay me my worth. And it's kind of hard to make a point because they always say, well, you know, women's boxing, you know, you guys, they try to make it seem like it's easier to be a world champion, and it's not, you know. So that's just some of the discrimination. But I think the times are changing slowly, but they're definitely changing.
Thank you so much. Miriam, would you like to give your opinion?
Sí, un poquito, porque bueno, yo tampoco puedo decir que yo me he sentido discriminada, la verdad. Yo me he sentido súper acompañada con mis compañeros, que yo los llamo mis caballeros. La verdad es que, bueno, hemos podido estar juntos disfrutando también de cada pelea y ayudándome en cada cosa. Entonces, la cuestión es, yo al estar directamente entrenando con cada uno de ellos, te das cuenta de que sí que es verdad que es diferente. La cuestión es que yo lo que no puedo hacer es ser iguales, porque al final es verdad que somos un poquito diferentes por espacios, por tiempos. Aún me gustaría llegar directamente a lo que todo el mundo queremos, o sea, tener las mismas bolsas, tener los mismos tiempos de asaltos. Ten en cuenta que aún esto va muy despacio, pero algún día sí me gustaría que esto pudiera llegar a ser. Porque no es justo para nosotras, sobre todo desde el tema en el campo amateur, cuando yo estaba, era muy diferente, los asaltos eran diferentes y todo era muy diferente. Ellos más asaltos y nosotros menos categorías, no sé, era totalmente diferente. Se empezó por unas Olimpiadas, que me parece muy bien, que era súper ilusionante poder llegar a optar a una Olimpiada, ¿vale? Cosa que me quedé justamente en las puertas. Ahora, en el ámbito profesional, me da mucha rabia también de que sean asaltos diferentes. Nosotros a 2 minutos, ellos a 3 minutos, sus bolsas muy superiores, las nuestras siempre inferiores. Eso me da mucha rabia. Y te puedo asegurar que no es por la manera de boxear, porque hay boxeadoras como Claressa, que es igual que un hombre, que boxea igual, que noquea igual, ¿sabes? Pero yo sí te digo, también hay que tener la proporcionalidad, ¿sabes? Porque son bolsas totalmente disparatadas. Pero bueno, yo creo que estamos luchando, cada vez somos más boxeadoras en el cual estamos fuerza juntas, que es lo que nos va a hacer levantarnos. Contra más boxeadoras seamos, tanto en el ámbito mío nacional, en España, como internacional, todas juntas apoyando las mismas fuerzas de querer hacer lo mismo, porque entrenamos igual, nos sacrificamos igual. Y cuando tenemos que hacer dieta, todo el mundo nos cortamos la boca para dar ese peso. No sé, luego también en muchos sitios, por desgracia, yo sinceramente tengo que trabajar. Yo tengo 2 hijos, son muchas cosas y luego encima tener la disciplina de querer entrenar a primera hora de la mañana y a última hora, más el trabajo, más mis hijos, más mi casa. sea, que es difícil, o sea, es muy difícil y me da un poco de rabia de que todavía sigan mirando de manera diferente. Pero bueno, esa es mi opinión, respetando a todo el mundo, la verdad.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for your opinion. We will get into the rounds discussion very, very soon. And it's true, we do have other things happening in our lives that usually men don't have to deal with because they have a partner that takes care of their kids and their house, and they cook for them. And instead, we have to cook for ourselves, cook for them. In my case, my husband is a boxer too, and he has to eat differently. So I have my diet, his diet, my daughter's diet, because she doesn't like anything of that, and she shouldn't be eating, like that. But it's so difficult, and you are right about that. I would like to welcome Claudia Trejos, the great, great, great Claudia Trejos. Thank you for being here.
I am
It is
honored.
a pleasure to have you.
Claressa, Hanna, Miriam, mucho gusto. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys. I'm honored to be among such great company. The real example of what women boxing is all about. It's funny because for many years, I really had a hard time when people would say, oh, she's great. She fights like a man. That was insulting because we fight like women. And what you guys just mentioned, and Claressa has been, I know she doesn't feel like she has been discriminated against, but the truth is, in general, the women's boxing has been, generally speaking, discriminated against because either the stipulations are different, the requirements are different, according to a lot of people that naysayers of the sport would say, oh, but technically they're not sound. Hello, get with the program. We're not talking about boxing from back in the 70s and 80s. We're talking about real high-performing athletes. So, Claressa, you guys have actually done a fantastic job at not only showing femininity, what a woman can do inside and outside the ring, but perform to the highest level. My question is for you ladies. Do you see that point of view changing anytime soon? Let me just put this in context. It finally took 2012 for women to be accepted in Olympic boxing. It finally takes promoters and important entities, men, to give way for women. Do you see this changing anytime soon? Like having women promoters, having women representing the different governing bodies in boxing. How do you see this changing?
Claudia, before we follow, I would like to remind you that we have Inés Estrada also, and we have Orlando Cruz, and so that we can get their opinions as well.
Hi, Inés.
Hi. Yeah, I can definitely speak on the question that you just asked right now. I've been boxing for about 18 years. I started when I was 7. So 18 years ago, everything was so different. Like, it's crazy how I was actually able to see all the changes happening from 7 years old all the way till now. And like you said, the skill level now is just so different. And I think that's what's really attracting the fans and attracting the men to want to watch this fight, is because the skill level isn't like the way it was in the 70s and 80s. Now we have women who actually have good skills, good technique, good footwork, and it's just whether you like women's boxing or not, it's like you can't deny that the skill level is so much better now.
Agreed.
Orlando?
Yes, you heard me?
Would you like to answer the first question or the second question? You can go.
Okay, so let me explain Spanish first.
Okay.
Mi opinión, yo vengo también de los Juegos Olímpicos, fui a los Juegos Olímpicos en Sydney 2000, y también vi mucho, sobre todo mi carrera que comencé, vi mucho discrimen sobre la mujer. Nunca estuve de acuerdo de que la mujer la encontraran inferior que nosotros, porque están practicando un deporte muy sacrificado, que para todo el boxeo no es nada fácil, Para mucha gente lo ve muy fácil sentado en un asiento, en una televisión. Y, ¿por qué no tira este puño? ¿Por qué no tira ese golpe? Se lo hubiese tirado. No, o sea, es estar metido tú en un ring con unos guantes 8 onzas, con un vendaje que prácticamente es un yeso. Cada paso que pasa a los asaltos se pone duro ese vendaje. El oponente que tú tienes de frente también tiene que ver mucho también. En fin, el derecho tanto del hombre como de la mujer, somos iguales todos. Aquí no somos ni minoría ni mayoría. Aquí cada persona merece el respeto. Aquí cada persona merece el derecho de igualdad. Aquí cada persona merece todo lo que para muchos es inferior por ustedes, pero ustedes son iguales y practican lo mismo. So, ¿qué te puedo decir? Yo no estoy de acuerdo en que les paguen muy menos que nosotros. Yo estoy de acuerdo que le paguen una bolsa razonable, justa, a la que ustedes se merecen, porque ustedes también entrenan fuerte, ustedes tienen que hacer peso, ustedes tienen que dejar su familia, como también nosotros hemos dejado nuestra familia para irnos del campamento, para una pelea titular. Y tú sabes bien clara, campeona, que es así, que es fuerte este deporte, y que para mí entiendo que la paga tiene que ser justa, y para mí tiene que mejorar el salario de la mujer en el boxeo.
De acuerdo.
Thank you so much. I would like to say something real quick, and we are not even able to go on camps. I will have to take my whole family. I will have to take my daughter. So that's kind of like different. Men usually have this space where they can just concentrate, you know? That is never the case on my side, at least. And it is unfair, truly, that people find all these excuses or justifications to get away with a low pay and all these kinds of things. I would like to get Orlando's Cruz on opinion, because I would like to talk about Emil Griffith, who in 1962 had a fight where his opponent died, and he later in the years he said that he was gay, and he has a phrase. He said this, and it really hits me because it's so difficult. He said, "When I killed a man, everyone supported me. But when I said I love the men, they left me alone." So I would like to get Orlando's Cruz opinion on this, because I would like to know if he has seen change in how the world view from those times to these times. How has he deal with being openly homosexual, and how does people has treated you?
Excuse me real fast. Orlando, you gave a response, but you said you're going to say it in English, because I don't speak Spanish. So I don't know anything that you said.
Okay, I explain English. Okay, I'm trying. In my English on the best. I'm trying. Okay, my opinions. A couple of years ago, I see the story of the Emil Griffith. So is the man, the black man, and my respects, because when I see the history, so he went talking with the people. He went talking with the family. He went talking with everybody. But I think it's a 1916, 1915. That the people is very serious for the gay subject. You know what I mean? The community is not accepting the gay when Emil Griffith at Boston. You know what I mean? So right now, so the years ago, the past years, so the people and the mentality is more open mind. So, but I need more. So, and in my case, the people and my family and my boxing career and my team, everybody respects. You know what I mean? Because my life and my personal life, I am never including with my career, never. So my life is respect. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And so what do you think is needed to be said right now? What is it that you think we need to do or say or advocate so that we can get people to recognize those rights in a better way? Because even though things have advanced a lot, we still have a lot of people that is against. They have all these assumptions, all these ideas, and this really affects people in so many ways. So what is it that you think we need to do so that we can get a better situation according to that?
The question for me or for the other Alex?
For you. Yes, for
Okay,
you.
for me.
When it comes to the acceptance of people,
The people
in terms of being
now
gay.
the people now I mean, is that the bossing or not bossing? I needed the more more mentality, you know what I mean? The more the open mind, the more respect, because I mean, now the old change, you know what I mean? Change. So I need more change. I needed more the open the voice. So for talking the gay community about more the gay athlete. In my case, I am the first openly gay, and I mean, every review, but I am talking, I am up my voice, in my career, the first openly gay in the world. So I'm masculine. I don't know the famous,
Yes.
but I mean, I am the masculine, the first openly gay.
Well, thank you for your opinion. I'm an instructor for empowerment and self-defense, and one of the things that I believe that needs to be done is give the kids the space and the freedom to just be themselves. It is important because they feel pressure to be what their parents want them to be, and there is a lot of the culture just picks in a very misogynist way, so they feel afraid to be themselves just because they know they will get bashed by it. So I hope to everybody that is watching, just try to give space to the kids, to the people, to be themselves, and not judging them from just enjoying what they are. Claudia, would you like to ask something?
I going a little bit further into that subject matter, I was wondering how you feel as a fighter when we're allowing now opening the doors for transgender fighters. The reason why I'm asking this is because I don't know if you guys know from mixed martial arts, somebody like Fox Fallon, who was discriminated against and basically eventually chastised for being transgender, walking into MMA and that sort of stuff. As ladies walking into the ring, what is your take on transgender fighters, men that eventually went into their female essence and are now going to be facing you guys? Is there a difference for you? Do you feel that there's a disadvantage, an advantage? What are your thoughts on that?
Let's go first.
Yeah, you guys need me to go first.
Yeah,
I mean,
go, Claressa.
yeah, I was about to say, so how I personally feel about it is, the advantage is that men are bigger and stronger and all those things, more than women. So when it comes to the whole transformation, of a transgender male coming and fighting against women, it's like where is I don't see it as being fair. But if they take hormones and stuff and they come in to be a woman, I understand, but I just don't know, like, I just don't see it's like it has to be some kind of protocol, you know what I mean? It's like if it's women's boxing and then it's men's boxing. Yeah, it's just boxing and skills pay the bills, but so does power and strength. It all plays a part in a boxing match. And if a man has man for 25 years, right? And they're got big man muscles and everything. Then they come over to being a woman. Like, yes, they're a woman, and we will call them a woman just to be respectful, but it's like it is a disadvantage, you know, for the women because they're already naturally stronger. And you know what, from what they say, because I spar against the men, I've been able to beat a lot of men in sparring, but still it's like, you know, in a fight, people are going 100%. In sparring, you're going 60, 70%. You're not trying to knock out your sparring partner. So to me, I feel like it gives them an unfair advantage, but just for women who, because I'll get in the ring and fight against anybody if the money is right, you know, and everything. But it's like I'll have to overly prepare for a fight like that and probably put on some muscle and, you know, do more running and be in extra shape and get my neck stronger because we're fighting against, you know, he may be a woman now, but in reality, this was a man at first, you know, so it's a difference for me. I don't know if anybody else feels
I agree. Yeah, I agree with Claressa. I think I don't discriminate against it, you know, against people who are transgender, but as far as in a boxing fight, I think it's totally unfair. I think the strength of a man is completely different from a woman, and that's the biggest issue, is the strength factor. I mean, when you're, like Claressa said, you know, we spar with guys, but at the same time, it's like if we're sparring a guy who is, you know, very skilled and very experienced, and they go hard on us and, you know, hit us with their hardest shot, like there's going to be a huge difference between our hardest punch and their hardest punch. So that's something that I don't really agree with as far as in the ring.
There. Miriam,
would you like to say?
Hombre, yo la verdad es que en ese aspecto pienso igual que Clarisse, sinceramente, son muy diferentes. Ten en cuenta de que de ser hombre a ser chicas, igual, hormonalmente, con el tema de la testosterona, los golpes no son iguales. Un hombre es un hombre y una mujer es una mujer. Tendrán a lo mejor muchas más habilidades, pero siguen siendo un hombre que su potencia es muy diferente a la de una mujer. Yo también soy súper respetuosa, pienso de que todo el mundo puede hacer lo que quiera con su vida respetando sus decisiones. Si quieres ser mujer como si quieres ser hombre, yo respeto totalmente, al igual que hay muchas mujeres que se juntan con otras mujeres que lo respeto de todo corazón, porque tengo un montón de compañeras, amigas y familia, al igual que los hombres, que están con otros hombres y también tengo familia y amigos y voy a seguir respetando, pero sí que es verdad que boxísticamente hablando, directamente en una competición, las fuerzas son diferentes y los tiempos y la fisonomía es diferente. Si tienen los muchos, yo le doy la razón a Clarisse. Eso habría que tener un pequeño protocolo en el cual pueda llegar a una base normalitaria.
there.
It will probably be like a new category, I believe, because biology, in terms of biology, in terms of physiology, everything is different. We cannot just look away on those facts. I believe that if a man feels like a woman, we should all respect that, and we should give him that space, that respect. But when it comes into in terms of competition, we have to really look at what are the difference that we have biologicamente y fisiológicamente to make it actually fair. So I believe that the three of us have the same opinion about that. I don't know if Orlando has a different opinion. Orlando?
Oh,
well, he doesn't seem to be around.
Yeah, not working.
You heard me?
Yeah.
You heard me? It's me. I'm back. I'm back.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
My opinions is let me explain in Spanish more. So, creo que estoy igual que Claressa, creo que estoy igual que la otra compañera española. Todos somos iguales y realmente no hay ningún protocolo en lo que es la diversidad y todo. So, creo que me voy con Claressa. O sea, no quiero explicar más porque realmente Claressa lo dijo todo. So, creo que me voy con Claressa porque es de esa manera que se ve las cosas en el boxeo.
I would like to welcome Gilberto Mendoza, our president of the World Boxing Association. He's around. I'd like to say hi.
Hi, Gilberto.
Hello, welcome, boss.
Somebody translate what he just said.
He's saying that he does agree with you all the way, that he doesn't want to have an opinion because actually you were able to say everything that he believes in.
Oh, okay, great.
So moving forward, I would like to ask the women in this chat.
Yes,
Because I know that Siniesa already fought 3-minute rounds, a 3-minute round fight, right, Siniesa?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I have.
Yes. So I would like to have your opinion on how you felt because they are not allowing us, and that is bothering me so much.
Wait a second.
To,
I know.
fight.
Just a minute. I totally support Sinisa. I totally support Claressa and Hanna and Miriam to fight 3-minute rounds. Wait a second.
Thank you.
Just give me a minute. Give me a minute.
Yeah.
First of all-
No.
Okay, go ahead,
I'm
Sinisa.
sorry. I'm just saying. Generally, it's been an issue for the longest time already that we haven't been allowed to fight more than 2-minute rounds. And of course, I appreciate that you're doing that. Gilbertico, is just we are honored to have somebody like you because I know you respect and honor women just like your father did. He had a vision and he wanted us women to rise. That's what we are doing, and you're just doing that for us as well. So I would like Siniesa's opinion on how she felt, and then Miriam and Claressa, if you think we should actually fight a 3-minute rounder bouts. Go ahead, Siniesa.
Yeah, I felt great, and I love going 3-minute rounds. I think it's something that all women should be doing. I know that the WBC organization is totally against it for medical purposes, which I don't think really makes any sense. And I think, especially if we want that equality in boxing, we need to go 3-minute rounds. It's like, we're asking for equality for everything else, but yet we're not asking to go 3-minute rounds. And I think more women need to speak up about it. I know there's probably a lot of women who don't feel comfortable going with 3-minute rounds. But those of us who want to should be able to. And I think 2 minutes it's just not enough time. And I feel like, 3 minutes, we're able to get more comfortable, more time to implement a game plan, to, get a TKO or a KO. I think it's just all around, it's just better having 3 minutes. And it's something that I think we should continue to fight for. We need to speak up about it more. That way we can get that officially changed.
Great, thank you so much, Clarissa. You have an opinion about that?
Yeah, I definitely think that we should be fighting 3-minute rounds. That's something that I'm actually looking forward to doing in the near future. I believe I fight against Marie-Eve Decaire sometime in September, but after Marie-Eve Decaire, I told my management and my team that I'm, even though I'm undisputed at 160, but my next fights will be for 3 minutes. So if I have to, give up a belt that doesn't allow us to do, and I'll give up a belt or whatever, but I'm still going to start fighting 3 minutes for the 10 rounds. But I think overall, compared to a world championship fight for women, we go 20 minutes compared to what is 12 times 3? Is that 36? So we got 20 minutes versus 36. And Sinisa is right. We ask for equality when we fight less time and also for less rounds. I think that once we finally get it established that we're fighting 3 10-minute rounds for our world championship fights, women also are going to need to start fighting 12 rounds for 3 minutes, the same amount of time as the men, because women's boxing has been around longer than MMA, women's MMA. And women's MMA gets a lot more respect because when it's a world championship fight, the women are going 5-minute rounds, just as the men. There are no, like excuses or secret medical things that they have that say that women can't. So I think that women's boxing would be further along if they actually seen that, that we can go 12 3-minute rounds, and they would be shocked by some of the data that we have, because I know for a fact that it was a fight one time and I threw 150 punches every round in 2 minutes. So it's like, if I can do that in 2 minutes, who knows what the heck I can do in 3. So it's like, they need to let us, push ourselves and not treat us like we don't have rights. And even in the Olympics, we went 4 2-minute rounds compared to the men going 3 3-minute rounds. But now they have changed it in the amateurs to where women are going 3-minute rounds as the men. So it's like, make everything equal. The only thing different about our sports is that, it's a man who's fighting against a man and a woman fighting against a woman, but everything else is the same. We have to train just as hard. So I think that, of course, fighting in 3 minutes would be, of course, we all have to up our training, do a bit more running, stuff like that. But I definitely think that it's doable. It's all about preparation. So I would love to see us go 3 10-minute rounds. 10 3-minute rounds, and then eventually 12 3-minute rounds.
Thank you so much. I'm pretty sure all of us train much more than 2 minutes. 2-minute rounds to get into a fight. I do 5 minutes, then I go 4, then I go 3, and then I have to go 2. Miriam, you have an opinion about that?
Hombre, yo lo he dicho directamente en la primera charla, lo primero que he estado diciendo respecto al tema de los rounds, el tema de las bolsas, el tema, más que nada es igual. Si lo queremos todo igual, tenemos que empezar a trabajarlo y estar todas súper unidas para poder llegar a realizarlo, ¿sabes? Sobre todo que los jefes grandes, si alguno me escucha por ahí, que puedan llegar a proponerlo también para que empecemos a ir todas por igual.
Girls, I got a tip for you girls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whenever you would like to fight 3-minute rounds, WBA is not against it. You have the right to ask for it. The problem you will have is with the promoter and with your opponent. But at this point, it's flexible for us. At some point, we want to make it mandatory. We're halfway, and I listen to you. I want to support you. I want to increase promoters' interest in having you in big cards and having you better paid. But you have to help me as well. You have to speak for yourself at some points. Right. And I'm there for you if you need somebody to back you up whenever you want to talk. Whenever, as I told Claressa when we did a Instagram live, I'm there for you girls. Whenever you need me, I'm going to be there. Giving the call to the promoter I have to give, to the commission I have to pick up the phone and tell them, allow them to fight 3 minutes. For our rules right now, if you request it, you're going to be allowed to fight 3-minute rounds.
Thank you.
Yes, as a matter of fact, right now,
thank you.
From Andrea Vargas, she says, good day. And she has a question, which is very valid. Outside the ring, are women participating in the decision-making process? I mean, I guess this question is for you, Gilberto, since you are you're the president of the WBA. Are women included in this process of making decisions?
Can you tell me the question again? Something happened with the audio.
There's a question from Andrea Vargas and the people that have joined into the WBA convention, and she says, outside the ring, are women participating in the process of making decisions in women's boxing?
Of course, definitely. I have Kina Malpartida, a former WBA champion, working in a directory board. Actually, girls, you're welcome to come. Whenever you retire, we offer you to be a referee, we offer you to be a supervisor, whatever you want to do with the WBA. It's like your family. You can come back, open the doors, and if you want to change paradigms or concepts, you know, we are here for you. And yes, we do. We have a lot of females working as referee. We have females working as judges. Actually, Claudia, there's something that we did, and Hanna participated in Latin America. We did we did a world record of 5 female championships, and all the technical people that were around us. There were no men's. We stepped back and we watched the whole show. Supervisors were women, ring inspector were women, timekeeper was a woman, you know, the judges and referees were a woman. Everybody there was a woman. So that
was the play-by-play a woman?
That became I think even the broadcaster, they had it. Yeah, but we are open. We're open to whatever it has to come.
Good.
Do we carry on, Claudia?
Yes, you can.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. I would like well, we are almost reaching the end of this forum, so I would like to have a final message from all the participants about gender violence. We know that it's an issue. It has been an issue historically, and it is an issue today. And with all the situation with the COVID-19, it just seems to everything gets worse, and sometimes home is not a safe place for many. So I would like to have the participants send a message to the world that is watching regarding that matter, and motivate people to, you know, bring the best out of themselves so that we can be live in a more peaceful place. Miriam, would you like to go first? I know this is a very strong issue, very strong subject in your life as well.
Es un tema fuerte para mí, más que nada porque yo viví en una situación peculiar y en el cual pude llegar a salir perfectamente con el apoyo de mi familia, de mis amigos y de mi gente y compañeros, sobre todo en el ámbito boxístico. La verdad es que, bueno, que este confinamiento, yo ahora que estoy en la Concejalía de Mujer, aquí en Torrejón de Ardoz, sinceramente hemos tenido que activar muchas situaciones de alarma, teniendo en aviso a la Policía Nacional, a la Policía Local, para que estuvieran pendientes de todas esas mujeres que en el cual están en nuestro municipio en indefensas, la verdad, por situaciones que tienen también viviendo con unas parejas totalmente agresoras. La cuestión es que han sido momentos muy difíciles, ya que hemos tenido que estar ahí, todo mi equipo completo, ayudándolas, hablando por teléfono continuamente por el hecho de no poder poner una denuncia para que las pudieran ayudar, ya que estaban también todos los sitios, los juicios correspondientes que no podían llegar a salir, todo se iba ralentizando, la ayuda correspondiente no llegaba. La verdad es que han sido situaciones muy peculiares y muy difíciles para esas mujeres, en el cual se veían apresadas totalmente con el agresor. Bueno, poco a poco estamos teniendo contacto con todas y cada una de ellas. Los juicios están saliendo, está saliendo todo bien. Los acompañamientos también están fluyendo bastante bien, ya que están apoyando directamente en esta causa, ya que es algo muy difícil. Y bueno, la verdad es que yo tengo un respaldo grandísimo de grandes profesionales, psicólogas, personas que pueden llegar a hablar con ellos, darle pautas correspondientes para que puedan llegar a llevar su vida normal. Pero bueno, aún así, todo esto que está empezando a salir también le está causando también excesivamente miedo, y bueno, ahí seguimos estando al teléfono para poder ayudarlas en cada momento. Y directamente desde aquí yo puedo llegar a decir a todas esas personas que bueno, que al final siempre hay que apoyarse, hay que confiar en la gente que tienes al lado, tienes que intentar hablar, nunca callarte nunca nada para que te puedan llegar a ayudar. Y bueno, sobre todo tener esa fuerza y esa valentía para levantarse, para saber de que se sale si se quiere, de que los sueños se cumplen. Os lo puedo decir, que yo estoy cumpliendo ellos todos los días, todos los días puedo llegar a cumplir un sueño que es levantarme, sonreír, que es lo más bonito que te puede llegar a dar la vida, tener unos hijos súper contentos y felices y ordenados, disfrutar de mi deporte, que es una de las cosas que me da la alegría porque es un desahogo para mí, y que los sueños se cumplen y que se levanten teniendo ilusiones, que es lo que ahora mismo tienen que tener, una ilusión.
Justo. Felicidades, Miriam, felicidades. Bien por un gran ejemplo.
Thank you
a
very
seguir.
much. We have
Yes.
2
Hanna.
minutes, right, Claudia?
Yes,
Hanna,
I actually have to say goodbye.
Thank you very much for all your
Thank you
work.
for joining us. Thank you.
I love you.
Bye. Thank you.
Orlando, you want to say something?
Yes, Clarissa, hear me?
Yeah. I'm here.
Clarissa, in Orlando. Let me ask you, do you have the, I mean, you have the ready for fighting 3 minutes, and you fight in 2 minutes, right? The girl fighting for 2 minutes. So
Yeah.
do you ready for the other level for 3 minutes? I mean, it's 1 minute more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just think that to
Guys,
spring.
we have 2 minutes left. I'm sorry, Clarissa. I'll let you answer that very quickly. Just wanted to let you guys know that we have 1 minute left on this forum, and you can
Yeah,
answer, and then just we send a message for people against on the matter of the gender violence, please. Thank you,
which-
Clarissa. Go ahead.
the one he asked or the one you're asked?
So you can answer both if you like.
Okay. Well, first, just I think it'd be kind of maybe unfair to spring on fight 3 minutes with her, and we're supposed to be fighting, just in a few months. I don't think she would agree to it, but who knows? I haven't asked my manager. We plan to do 3 minutes after this fight. And I'm speaking just on the, like the domestic violence and everything. I think it's something that men just definitely know that, it's not okay for a woman to put a man or a man to put their hand on a woman. And personally, I think that a lot of people in the world don't know it or not. They need therapy to help them control their anger and help them better express their emotions. So that's something that I would just, throw out there. People think that therapy is for crazy people, but I'm not crazy. I go to therapy, and I'm a real champ. So therapy can help a lot of people inside the home, especially with domestic violence.
Awesome. Congratulations. And Clarissa, never give up. Keep going. Keep it for your dreams. Okay. So good luck in your career.
Thank you.
Just a final question. If any of you ladies that are here in the panel, if you will attend the next WBC female convention, will you formally sign a petition for 3-minute rounds? This is a question that Robert Newman did.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I definitely.
Yes, I definitely will as well. Anything we can do to implement that 3 minutes and to get it changed, I'll definitely be willing to do.
Yeah.
Myself, I will do so, and I'm sure Miriam as well. I want to thank you all for being on this panel. It's been exciting and a pleasure to share with you. Thank you, Gilberto Mendoza, for your insights and for supporting us in that special way, amazing way that you do always. Thank you, Miriam. Thank you, Clarissa. Thank you, Orlando and Suniesa. It's been my pleasure, and God bless.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Gilbertito, for everything. Thank you.
Yep. Bye.
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 Thank you. Bye.
Es una mierda esta mierda.
Time, and we discuss a really important subject, gender equality in boxing. Thank you, bye-bye, and it was a pleasure to have you. Well, Hanna
Bye-bye.
Gabriels,
Thank you very much.
Claudia Trejos, Claressa Shields, Miriam Gutiérrez, and of course, Orlando Cruz was really, really interesting to discuss these important subjects like gender equality in boxing. It's been a really exciting day, this 3rd of July in the 99 convention of the World Boxing Association. We already have 2 forums, the challenges of boxing with Claudia Trejos, Hearn, and Gilberto Mendoza, our president. We just enjoyed the forum gender equality in boxing, and of course, just in a few minutes, we will have the forum of Olympic boxing, where we will have important boxing exponents like Clemente Russo from Italy, Omar Narváez, Miguel Torruco, Ricardo Contreras, Yordanis Despaigne. So it will be really, really interesting. This will start only in a few minutes, and this afternoon, we will have Amir Khan in Zoom. Clemente, tu mi senti?
Ciao, parlo italiano, come stai?
Ciao Clemente. Allora stiamo già per iniziare, per noi è un honore averti. Ya tenemos también a Ricardo Contreras, and we will also have, as a host, for me it's a pleasure to present Julius Julianis, that we will have as a host for this forum of Olympic boxing. So let's find out in the following video what we will bring you in this Olympic boxing forum.
Massimiliano, mi senti?
Sì, io ti ascolto, Clemente.
Sì, ma ci siamo conosciuti lì a Medellin con te, no?
Sì.
Sei un grande.
Grazie. We will also like to add that we'll have Guillermo Rigondeaux, WBA champion, 2 times Olympic gold medal, just right ahead. So on the chat box in this GoToWebinar, you will have the link for what will be the Zoom activity with Amir Khan. That will be 4 p.m. time of the United States. We will also have Tyson Lee. It's already online. We are just waiting for have his webcam available. And we also remember one more time to download the app Interprefy, so we can enjoy the simultaneous translation, English to Spanish and Spanish to English, but now we are adding also Italiano. So we are really international in this WBA 99 convention. So we are preparing for what is going to be this Olympic boxing forum with, of course, legend of this sport, Clemente Russo, and all the panel that I just mentioned. So, Julius, I will give you the floor to present yourself, and then, of course, we go to Clemente to start this interesting activity.
Hola, hola Max. Buenas tardes a todos. Bueno, buenos días, dependiendo en la zona del mundo en la que cada uno esté. Hi everybody. Good afternoon. Con esto empezamos el foro de boxeo olímpico. Lo primero de todo, enviarle un fuerte saludo a Jesper Jensen, el director del Comité Olímpico, y a la autora Moreno, y también a todos los que están aquí. Y la primera pregunta es una pregunta general para todo el panel, y es acerca de la situación del boxeo olímpico actual, el cambio que ha sufrido en los últimos años, y qué opinan ustedes de esta nueva situación del boxeo olímpico.
So we will have to check the sound. Ricardo, Clemente, do you listen? Julius and myself. Tu mi ascolti, Clemente?
Sì. Sento un po' disturbato, ma mi sento.
Ok, perfetto. Tu preferisci intervenire in italiano? Ti senti anche comodo intervenire in inglese? Perché se no tu puoi fare le tue intervenzioni e io ti faccio dopo una piccola traduzione.
No, casomai quando loro mi fanno una domanda, visto che ti sento un po' frastagliato, me la traduci e vedo come me la sento di rispondere, se in inglese o in italiano.
Ok, perfetto. Julio, if you want just to repeat the question, after that I will translate in Italian to Clemente.
El boxeo olímpico ha sufrido un cambio súper drástico, súper importante en los últimos años, con la posibilidad de que los boxeadores que antes se llamaban profesionales participen en las competiciones olímpicas. ¿Y cuál es su opinión como campeón mundial que ha sido en boxeo amateur de esta nueva situación del boxeo olímpico?
Allora Clemente, Julius basicamente ti stava domandando che negli ultimi anni il box olimpico ha avuto dei cambi importanti, soprattutto con l'etichetta dei professionisti, e tu come un campione amateur, come anche una persona importante nel ciclo olimpico, vorremmo sapere la tua opinione soprattutto sugli ultimi cambi adattati al box olimpico.
Ok, questa è una risposta che te la devo rispondere per forza in italiano perché è molto complessa e tu la traduci. Allora, negli ultimi anni, precisamente dal 2010, quindi negli ultimi 10 anni, il pugilato olimpico è stato molto cambiato. E soprattutto con l'inserimento delle WSB. Delle WSB che erano un semiprofessionismo sui 5 round. Quindi ci siamo adattati, siamo stati un po' al centro tra il professionismo e il dilettantismo della box olimpica, e quindi quando ho visto che alle Olimpiadi sono entrati anche i professionisti sono stato contento, perché è una cosa buona, perché comunque il pugilato
abbiamo dei problemi col tuo audio, Clemente, mentre fai, diciamo, i dettagli per poterti ascoltare di nuovo. Faccio una breve introduzione della traduzione di quello che hai detto. So, Clemente was saying basically that since 2010, Olympic boxing had a lot of changes, and of course the main change was the next amateur boxing and professional boxing, and of course the rules changing to have, of course, 5 rounds. And then he was saying that for him it was important to have professional boxers in the Olympic cycle. Clemente, non so se ora ti possiamo ascoltare, così continui. Ok.
Quindi dicevo che comunque è stato molto buono per noi pugili che facciamo box olimpica entrare anche nel progetto WSB, perché ci sono stati dei pugili che non erano sicuri nel passare professionisti, mentre con la WSB è stato un buon passaggio per passare al professionismo e ritornare indietro e fare le Olimpiadi.
So, Ricardo was saying that was positive because, of course, with the professional arriving, many boxers that were amateur had the opportunity to start over and begin their professional careers. Puoi continuare, Clemente.
No, quindi la domanda che mi ha fatto il signor Julians era la risposta è questa qui.
Okay, so that was the answer. Le vamos a solicitar al señor Ricardo Contreras, si puede, que se quite los auriculares, que utilice el audio del equipo para poderlo escuchar mejor, así para continuar con este foro. Así que te cedo nuevamente la palabra, Julius.
Precisamente Ricardo nos podría comentar también su visión de lo que es el boxeo olímpico actual y es la nueva situación del boxeo olímpico actual, él que es el presidente de la Federación Mexicana de Boxeo.
Ricardo, por favor, para que actives tu audio, porque el audio no está activado para poderte escuchar. Muchas gracias. Creo que el audio no está activado, Ricardo. No, no se escucha.
¿No? A ver si me escucha ahora.
Ahora sí. Gracias.
Yo los escucho a ustedes bien. ¿Ustedes ya me escuchan?
Sí, claro.
Correcto. Buenos días desde México a todos los miembros de la familia del boxeo profesional de la WBA. Mi saludo afectuoso para don Gilberto Mendoza, presidente. Gracias por su invitación. Creo yo que es la primera ocasión que una organización de boxeo profesional en el mundo invita a participar en temas de el boxeo olímpico a alguien como yo, que soy el presidente de la Federación Mexicana de Boxeo. Creo que tendríamos que analizar dos aspectos muy importantes en este tema. El boxeo olímpico ha cambiado. El boxeo olímpico es uno de los deportes, de los pocos deportes, muy contados deportes, que no tiene o no tenía boxeadores profesionales en los Juegos Olímpicos. Todos recordamos cuando entró el básquetbol, con la NBA, con el fútbol, etcétera. Pero el boxeo había tardado en aceptar a los profesionales dentro de este ámbito. Ahora se ha permitido, no con la, diríamos, la brillantez y la calidad de los boxeadores que la gente quisiera ver del ámbito profesional en los Juegos Olímpicos. Todos quisiéramos ver a un Canelo Álvarez, quisiéramos ver a boxeadores de un gran relieve. Sin embargo, creo que el intento que se hace ahora por parte de que el Comité Olímpico Internacional aceptó que entraran boxeadores profesionales va a dar frutos, seguramente a mediano plazo. Tal vez no el año que viene, pero en breve. Pero creo que debemos de tomar en consideración una base importante para el boxeo. Creo yo que si la WBA hizo este esfuerzo por invitar a gente del boxeo olímpico, se debiera de pensar que el boxeo profesional apoyara al boxeo olímpico. Durante muchos años, los mejores boxeadores en el ámbito olímpico, cuando se van al boxeo profesional, el sector que se llamaba antes amateur, no recibe un solo peso de apoyo, un solo dólar. ¿Quiénes tienen el dinero?
Tentativo
Boxeo
di connessione in
profesional.
corso.
Pero ¿quién tiene a los boxeadores? ¿Quiénes son a los que les cuesta la formación de estos boxeadores? Al sector olímpico. Un boxeador olímpico que pueda tener grandes aspiraciones de ser medallista o campeón olímpico, solamente lo puede hacer con una preparación mínima entre 6 y 8 años. Y ese tiempo y el anterior le corresponde a las federaciones nacionales de cada país, a sus gobiernos, a sus comités olímpicos, hacer una inversión en cada uno de ellos, pero no recupera nada. Creo yo que ahora este esfuerzo que hace la WBA debiera de ser aprovechado para que se pensara en hacer un proyecto conjunto de apoyo del boxeo profesional al sector olímpico. Puede hacerse de varias formas, inclusive crear academias en cada uno de los países donde se becara a los boxeadores olímpicos para que cuando lleguen al ciclo final en el olimpismo puedan pasar inmediatamente al profesional con grandes esperanzas de destacar de una manera más pronta y que obviamente representa para el boxeador, que como ustedes saben, la mayoría de la gente que viene en el boxeo olímpico son de escasos recursos, de familias muy humildes. Ellos requieren durante su formación en el ciclo olímpico que los apoyen. Creo que ahora el presidente Gilberto Mendoza seguramente ha pensado en esta circunstancia. Para mí, en mi carácter de presidente de una federación como la de México, resulta muy penoso que teniendo en México la sede de un organismo de boxeo profesional mundial, este organismo, en lugar de ayudar a sus boxeadores, los vetó y amenazó con suspenderlos 2 años antes de los Juegos Olímpicos de Río de Janeiro, si participaban en un proceso como el que estamos mencionando. Resulta totalmente vergonzoso que un mexicano pueda hacer eso con sus compatriotas. Por eso hoy saludo la intervención de la WBA de dirigirse por primera ocasión al boxeo olímpico en un ámbito de una convención de boxeo profesional. Creo yo que de aquí tendremos que sacar grandes acuerdos en los cuales el primero que veo, y con mucho reconocimiento para Gilberto Mendoza, es el respeto de la jurisdicción de cada uno de los ámbitos que el boxeo en el mundo. Si ellos se dirigen a las federaciones nacionales, seguramente que ese ámbito de respeto corresponderá a darle mayor respetabilidad a la WBA y a que ella se nutra de los mejores boxeadores olímpicos que pueden saltar al boxeo profesional ya desde los Juegos de Tokio que se llevarán a cabo el próximo año. Así es que mi reconocimiento al presidente Gilberto Mendoza, qué bueno que abra por primera ocasión en la historia de su organismo una puerta para el boxeo olímpico, recordando una frase que es una regla de oro en nuestro deporte. El boxeo es el deporte de los más pobres y a esos es a los que más hay que ayudar.
Muchas gracias, don Ricardo. Y aprovechando que tenemos bueno, pues lo primero, mandar un saludo al presidente de la Asociación Mundial de Boxeo, Gilberto Jesús Mendoza, que es el anfitrión de este evento, además, que se acaba de unir a este foro. y a la Ultramoreno, y también a Tyson Lee, el presidente de USA Boxing, que también está. Y bueno, aprovechando que tenemos a Clemente, que es un boxeador que ha tenido una carrera amateur muy bien desarrollada y larga, y a Omar Narváez, que también, aparte de ser un boxeador profesional muy reconocido, tuvo una carrera amateur también bien desarrollada, si nos podrían comentar ellos dos las diferencias que ven entre el boxeo olímpico actual y lo que era el boxeo olímpico de hace unos años. Clemente ya habló un poquillo de eso, pero si lo podría desarrollar un poco más, no solo las diferencias que ve en la competición, sino en el contexto del deporte en sí mismo.
Before we listen to Clemente, we are going to welcome Mr. Tyson Lee. I don't know if already Mr. Tyson Lee have his microphone open. Mr. Lee, can you listen to us?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we are still working on the camera issue, but I've been following things, the conversation. So for one, first of all, thanks for inviting me. I apologize for the camera issue. I've never had this happen, but we are working on it, and I think we'll be able to figure it out here in just a second.
Thank you very much to Mr. Lee, and también le damos la bienvenida a Omar Narváez para también confirmar si ya a nivel
Hola, hola. Hola, hola, buenos días.
Buen día.
Buen día. Disculpa también, me disculpo por la cámara. Pensé que con el celular también podría ver, pero no es así. Me encuentro en estos momentos en el gimnasio, así que bueno, escuchando, siguiendo todo lo que va pasando en la convención en estos días, las conversaciones, y felicitarlo a todos por estos 99 años, por todo lo que están haciendo por el boxeo amateur, olímpico, profesional. La verdad que muy contento, y saludar a mis colegas, a toda la gente amante del boxeo y a los seguidores.
Muchas gracias, Omar, y también saludamos a Yordanis de Despaigne para confirmar si también ya tiene el audio activo. Yordanis, ¿nos escuchas? Bueno, mientras Yordanis solventa estos pequeños problemas técnicos, Julius, vamos entonces a retomar, dependiendo a quién quieras dirigirle primero la pregunta. Clemente, tu preferisci che ti faccia di nuovo la domanda Julius per vedere se lo capisci in spagnolo e io ti faccio la traduzione?
Vabbè.
Le vamos a dar un poquito de descanso a Clemente y vamos a empezar la pregunta con Omar Narváez, aprovechando que ya le tenemos conectado. Y la pregunta era: hola Omar, bienvenido al foro. Y la pregunta es: ¿qué diferencias ves entre el boxeo olímpico que tú practicaste antes de pasar a profesional y el boxeo olímpico actual? No solo en el sistema de competición, sino también en lo que es el contexto del deporte olímpico en sí mismo.
Bueno, la verdad que el paso del boxeo olímpico al profesional costó un poquito, pero siempre lo dije a mis compañeros, a mí se me hizo más difícil lograr una medalla mundial, un juego panamericano, un torneo internacional en el boxeo olímpico que haber salido campeón del mundo. Te digo por qué y las razones. Más allá de que el boxeo profesional es más peligroso, por los guantes más chicos, no había protección en ese momento. Nosotros en boxeo amateur peleábamos con cabezales y la pasada del profesionalismo es sin cabezal. Pero al tener más minutos de combate, más tiempo, por ahí se hacía más fácil poder dar vuelta a una pelea o leer la estrategia del rival. En cambio, en el amateurismo, en 3 rounds de 3 minutos por uno, muchas veces no tenía el tiempo necesario para dar vuelta a una pelea y arrancabas perdiendo el primer round, se hacía muy difícil levantar el segundo y terminar bien el tercero. Entonces, muchas veces las peleas se me escapaban ahí nomás y muchas veces salí favorecido, obvio. Pero estoy muy de acuerdo que los mejores boxeadores amateur salen grandes campeones mundiales en el profesionalismo. En mi caso logré hacer muchos torneos internacionales, participar en 2 Juegos Olímpicos como Atlanta 96 y Sydney 2000, campeonatos mundiales, Houston en Europa, perdón, 97-99, en Hungría, y eso me dio mucha experiencia para que en el profesionalismo, que al tener más tiempo y más minutos y más round, poder descifrar una pelea o a mi rival. Y la verdad que me logré consagrar campeón del mundo con solamente 11 peleas profesionales, pero sí una larga trayectoria en el nivel amateur. Entonces eso me fogueó para llegar muy bien a los campeonatos del mundo y a poder defender mis clones.
Muchas gracias, Omar.
De nada.
Y pasando a Clemente, Clemente tocó antes por encima un poquito el tema de las World Series of Boxing, y aprovechando eso, estaría muy bien que desarrollase un poquito qué diferencias ve entre el boxeo olímpico que se desarrollaba a principios del año 2000-2001 y el boxeo olímpico actual, el che ha estado en los 2 ciclos.
Allora, Clemente, Julius basicamente ti domandava quali sono le principali differenze tra quel box olimpico 2000-2001 e il box olimpico attuale.
Ok, rispondo in italiano. Innanzitutto un saluto al grandissimo Gilberto Mendoza, il nostro presidente. Allora, il pugilato olimpico non è cambiato dal 2001 al 2020, negli ultimi 20 anni. Il pugilato olimpico cambia ogni 4 anni. Ogni 4 anni ci sono regole nuove, quindi un pugile, un boxeatore si deve adattare a quelle regole. Le ultime regole delle ultime Olimpiadi, quelle di Rio de Janeiro e le future di Tokyo, saranno ancora molto più vicine al pugilato professionistico. Avete visto, hanno tolto il caschetto, hanno cambiato anche i bendaggi nel pugilato olimpico, adesso è un bendaggio da professionista. Si fa molta più box di difesa, non è più come una volta, è più longilinea, quindi è cambiato ogni 4 anni, avvicinandoci sempre di più al professionismo. E io ho fatto 4 Olimpiadi dal 2004, quindi ho cambiato 4 volte lo stile di fare pugilato.
Ok, básicamente Clemente nos decía que no es simplemente un cambio del 2000 al 2020, sino que cada ciclo olímpico trae consigo cambios importantes para un boxeo olímpico que cada vez más se asemeja a lo que es el boxeo profesional. Y Clemente, que ha estado desde 2004, pues le ha tocado todo este tipo de transiciones. Nos explicaba que sobre todo el reglamento presentado para Rio 2016 y el que estaba, digamos, expuesto para Tokio 2020, que ahora, obviamente, como bien saben, los Juegos Olímpicos, Dios mediante, se van a realizar el próximo año, pandemia, obviamente, permitiendo, se asemeja realmente a lo que es un boxeo profesional mucho más potente y, obviamente, con cambios distintos a lo que era un boxeo más amateur en ediciones anteriores. Vuelvo contigo, Julius.
Julius, te puedo pedir un permiso. Te quería
Ahora,
Bueno, voy a hablar en inglés y en español. Voy a empezar por darle la bienvenida al señor Tyson Lee. Muchísimas gracias por tus palabras, Ricardo. Creo que estamos en sintonía. En lo que la palabra más importante que has dicho hoy fue respeto. Y es el respeto institucional que tenemos nosotros hacia el boxeo aficionado, hacia el boxeo que tú lideras hace mucho tiempo en México. Respeto hacia figuras como Omar Narváez, respeto hacia figuras como Clemente, que para mí es un honor que esté con nosotros. 4 Juegos Olímpicos, 2 veces subcampeón olímpico, y ojalá que se mantenga trabajando con la Asociación Mundial de Boxeo. Y Mr. Lee, first of all, thank you so much for accepting in short notice to participate in this boxing forum. This is just the first step of building a relationship between the World Boxing Association and the USA Boxing. I have admired USA Boxing all my life. I've admired every local federation since I started in boxing. I have a vision in this sport that we are the same sport. We're not divided. We might have several rules, but at the end, we are trying to work on a unique boxing sport. And to me, it's an honor to have you with us today, sharing these ideas, which will be the beginning of many things that will happen all up together. Muchas gracias a Omar también, Omar Narváez, que está por ahí, lo escucharé por ahí, pero es mi gran amigo. Gracias por estar ahí. Me ha tocado históricamente acompañarte en diferentes experiencias boxísticas y sabes que se te aprecia mucho. Adelante, Julio.
Encantado, Gilberto. Aprovechando que tenemos a la vez al presidente de la Federación Mexicana de Boxeo, que es el país de habla hispana más importante en el mundo del pugilismo, y que tenemos a la vez también a Tyson Lee, que es el presidente de USA Boxing, que es el país más importante a nivel mundial en el pugilismo, y también a Gilberto Mendoza, que es el presidente de un organismo muy importante, uno de los más importantes por no decir el más importante del boxeo profesional. La pregunta sería para los tres: ¿cómo desarrollar las selecciones nacionales, las de boxeo olímpico? Lo digo en inglés también para que el señor Lee pueda intervenir en este pequeño debate que quiero que hagan ellos tres. Hi, Mr. Tyson Lee. The question for you, Gilberto Mendoza and Ricardo Contreras, is how to develop the national teams of Olympic boxing. If it's necessary to make tournaments between national teams, or what kind of action can we make to move the national teams?
Can you hear me? ¿Escuchan?
Yes.
Español, voy a hablar español. Sigue la pregunta.
Le estamos dando la bienvenida a Yordanis Despaigne, que estaba ya probando audio. Julius, did you hear the question of Julius, Mr. Lee?
I did hear the question, though. Would you like me to respond?
It's a list.
Are you able to?
Okay. You can repeat.
Oh.
No, I did have a question. I was just trying to make sure that you can hear me.
The question for Mr. Lee, I hope he is hearing, is how to develop the national teams of how to develop the national teams, the Olympic national teams. Is it necessary to make international tournaments a part of the qualification tournaments for the big tournaments? Another tournaments between national teams of one country, another country, of what thing?
Okay. Can you everyone hear me?
Hey. Aquí.
Can you hear me?
Conectaste, Rigo. ¿Eh?
Okay.
Dime.
Puedo oírme. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Está redondeado.
Okay. Well, I think that in response to the question, and I hope everyone can hear me. I don't know why. Hold on. Let's try it again. Okay. I hope everyone can hear me. Can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I mean, okay, good. Okay. Well, in response to the question, what can we do to develop the national teams? I think what we're doing currently in the U.S. is working for us, where we have a series of tournaments over time. I mean, obviously, the more competition that you can get with boxers is naturally going to improve the level of athlete that you have participating in the sport. And we, make every effort to give our boxers as many opportunities as possible throughout the country, throughout the course of the year. And then we develop them over time in our tournaments when they're ranked as essentially elite boxers, from the amateurs to the open to the elites. And then the elites compete to, become our national team and Olympians. So, and, if we can have international competition along the way, like we do, and more of that is naturally gonna create better boxers for the sport. That's why it's so important to have the national, the professional sanctioning bodies supporting the amateur programs, because it gives you familiarization, as they get older and they get ready to transition. But it also is very important, just like in every other sport, just like you see in football, they support the college programs. The college programs become, your professional football players. Baseball, you have your farm leagues that become your professional players, and amateur boxing and elite programs become our professionals, and Olympians become our world champions. So it's very comforting to see an organization like the WBA showing an interest in amateur boxing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. El señor Lee ha comentado la importancia de los torneos internacionales entre jóvenes boxeadores para desarrollar el proyecto de boxeo olímpico. Y yo quería preguntarle también a don Ricardo Contreras lo mismo. ¿Qué importancia ve en los torneos, no solo en los clasificatorios para Juegos Olímpicos o para mundiales o los propios mundiales o Juegos Olímpicos, sino torneos internacionales o nacionales entre jóvenes boxeadores? ¿Son necesarios? ¿Qué beneficios ofrecen?
Bueno, sí, claro que son necesarios. Ya lo dijo Omar, a quien saludo con mucho afecto. El boxeo, él dijo una gran verdad. A él le pareció más difícil ganar una medalla olímpica un campeonato mundial en el boxeo olímpico que ser campeón en el profesional. Bueno, la diferencia es sencilla. La experiencia que tiene un boxeador en amateur es muy difícil que la tenga un profesional, aún siendo un campeón del mundo. Nosotros tenemos boxeadores con 350 peleas, boxeando 3 Juegos Olímpicos, ganando torneos internacionales en todo el mundo. Entonces, la diferencia cuando entra el boxeador profesional al amateur en los Juegos Olímpicos, yo hago un símil comparándolo con el atletismo. El boxeador olímpico es el velocista que corre en 10 segundos los 100 metros. El boxeador profesional es el corredor de fondo que tiene que entrar en calor después del 4º round, 5º, y ahí es cuando hay la diferencia en ese sentido. Yo creo que mi amigo Gilberto Mendoza podría considerar que la WBA crea un fondo de apoyo para el boxeo olímpico, y yo recomendaría lo siguiente: en cada pelea de campeonato mundial, si un organismo de boxeo profesional otorgara al menos el 2% de las ganancias en una función de este tipo, esto podría ayudar mucho a desarrollar a los talentos que vienen en el boxeo olímpico. No hay mayor ciencia, no hay una fórmula especial. Todos los programas, los mejores programas que se puedan hacer, los podemos poner en el pizarrón, en la computadora, pero no se pueden ejecutar si no hay dinero. Esa es la base esencial. El boxeo olímpico requiere de un fondo especial para que saque de manera más constante a las grandes estrellas que van a ir al profesional. Todos vemos, como ya lo mencionaron anteriormente, los más grandes boxeadores en el boxeo profesional han sido campeones olímpicos. Y basta solamente señalar al menos 2 o 3. Muhammad Ali, el más grande; George Foreman; Sugar Ray Leonard, por dar esos nombres. Esos fueron unas grandes estrellas en el boxeo amateur, y en el profesional, por supuesto que lo relacionaron inmediatamente y adaptaron su estilo al boxeo profesional. ¿Qué es lo que tenemos que hacer? Tal vez la Asociación Internacional de Boxeo debiera considerar en modificar un poco más sus reglas. Que las peleas, en lugar de 3 rounds, pudieran ser a 4, por ejemplo. Habría un equilibrio un poco más entre profesional y amateur, ¿sí? Y esencialmente, como ya lo comentó mi querido amigo Gilberto Mendoza, se parte del respeto, de la acción de cada quien. Yo no me meto a hacer peleas de boxeo profesional porque no tengo facultades para hacerlo en mi estatuto. Y el boxeo profesional debe de respetar la facultad que existe en cada país, de su comité olímpico, de su federación nacional, para realizar este tipo de apoyos. Esa es mi propuesta, mi querido Julius.
Muchas gracias, don Ricardo. Y bueno, aprovechamos para saludar a Guillermo Rigondó, doble campeón olímpico y doble campeón mundial en boxeo profesional, que se une a este foro. Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes, campeón.
Y también
Buenas tardes.
a Yordanis Despaigne, que se está uniendo también a este foro.
Now, this one of the biggest differences that many of the governing bodies and federations have is that some believe that professionals to fight in the Olympics. And our official position in the U.S. is that we have no professionals on our teams, and we don't support the professionals fighting in the Olympic Games. We think that should be reserved for amateur boxers, and that's one of the biggest differences, I think, within everyone, and that's something that's really going to need to be addressed, I think, and worked out as we go forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee, and we are very glad to salute to Jesper Jensen, director of Olympic Boxing Committee. Tenemos ahora también a Jesper Jensen, el director del Comité del Boxeo Olímpico del COI. Hi, Mr. Jensen.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Y bueno, don Miguel Torruco, el comisionado de boxeo de México, no ha podido asistir a esta reunión, a este foro, porque tiene unos compromisos con el gobierno, pero quiso dejarnos este vídeo que llega a continuación. muchísimas gracias a don Miguel Torruco por ese vídeo y esa emotiva declaración que nos ha enviado. Y precisamente estábamos comentando las diferencias entre el boxeo olímpico actual y el anterior y este tipo de cosas. Y yo, aprovechando que está Clemente Russo, que está Despaigne, que está don Gilberto Mendoza y que está Omar Narváez también, me gustaría que ellos, en general, nos contestasen a qué opinan de los torneos semipro, de los que ha habido en esta última década y en estos últimos años. Si creen que deben seguir esos torneos semipro, si hay que buscar otra alternativa a la competición amateur, podríamos llamarle, porque no es amateur, de camino olímpico. Y también su opinión de que la Asociación Mundial de Boxeo, la WBA, organizase torneos como el Future Champions. Podemos empezar con Clemente, por ejemplo, che participò in World Boxing.
Allora, Clemente, Julius stava parlando che vorrebbe avere da parte di tutti voi un'opinione su questi tornei semi-pro. Se secondo te questo percorso si deve continuare o se si devono trovare altre alternative, e anche delle iniziative della WBA come i Future Champions, che tu nell'ultimo, per esempio a Medellin, ci sei stato e hai visto tutta questa iniziativa che si sta facendo.
No, ma non ho capito quale iniziative vorrebbero modificare o continuare, non ho capito questo.
No, la domanda era sui tornei semi-pro. Qual è la tua opinione su questi tornei semi-pro? Se questo è il percorso che si deve continuare o si devono trovare alternative?
Allora, i tornei semiprofessionisti che si chiamavano una volta Despaigne, poi è stata diciamo annullata, non c'è più. Però per me si dovrebbero continuare perché è una grandissima prova di un pugile per vedere se funziona o non funziona nel mondo professionistico, ok? Perché tanti pugili lasciano il dilettantismo, lasciano il pugilato olimpico per passare al mondo professionistico e poi non funzionano, ok? Mentre quello è un grande banco di prova per fare il passo e può essere anche molto utile per l'esperienza da fare nel professionismo.
Nos decía Clemente que obviamente esta modalidad semiprofesional, con el contexto o el nombre que se le quiera dar, se debe seguir fomentando porque es el banco de pruebas idóneo para entender y evaluar el potencial del boxeador, si tiene obviamente las aptitudes y la proyección para poder llegar al profesional. Julius.
E poi volevo aggiungere una piccola cosa a quello che ha detto il mister Ricardo Contreras poco fa, che lui ha fatto un bellissimo esempio, no? Sul pugilato olimpico e quello professionistico, quello che il pugilato olimpico è un velocista e quello che il pugilato professionistico è uno che lavora più sulla resistenza e sulle lunghe distanze, sicuramente. Però quello che posso dire è che non è più così già da 5-6 anni, perché anche il pugile che è molto velocista, come lo ero io, perché io sono un velocista, mi sto avvicinando anche a livello olimpico molto più al professionismo, perché i giudici, gli arbitri premiano il verdetto, il round a chi mette più potenza nei colpi, quindi premiano più il pugilato professionistico anche a livello olimpico.
Ok, tomando las palabras del presidente Contreras, Clemente también quería agregar que también en el boxeo de hoy se está premiando mucho también la potencia, cosa que se ha visto también en el ciclo olímpico, y si obviamente él durante su carrera se consideró un velocista, explica lo que ha sido esa transición también de ser un velocista a ser más un púgil de resistencia, y cómo estos elementos se pueden complementar en base a cómo está evolucionando el boxeo y esta unión obviamente del profesionalismo con el boxeo olímpico.
Grazie mille Clemente. Y precisamente esta pregunta es una pregunta que es muy interesante y que creo que debe contestar más gente de este foro. Por ejemplo, don Gilberto Mendoza, ¿cuál es su opinión sobre los torneos semi-pro?
Julio, primero que nada, más allá de una opinión, yo soy creyente firme, además de respeto, Ricardo, del desarrollo sistemático, en el que respetemos las instituciones que existen, en que respetemos la posición de cada quien de ellos. El torneo semipro para mí, coincido perfectamente con Clemente, es un lugar a prueba donde podremos tener parámetros que te permitan decir quiénes pueden participar o no. Además, los organismos mundiales a veces tienen un título que se llama título de la juventud. Nosotros en la MB nos los han propuesto, que tengamos títulos de juventud, pero realmente nosotros no tenemos la base de atletas para considerar a un boxeador campeón juvenil, porque son muy pocos los que pasan por esa edad. Ahí es donde yo proponía que boxeadores que no pasaran, y esto es un ejemplo, más de 6 rounds en el profesional y que no tuvieran más de 5 o 6 peleas, pudieran entrar en conjunto a un torneo en el cual mantuviese las reglas del aficionado, del amateur, y pudieran participar en un verdadero campeonato mundial semiprofesional en el cual podríamos intervenir. Y considero que es un tema difícil, pero tampoco complicado. A la final, como les reitero, es un solo deporte lo que tenemos y estoy a favor de que se sigan haciendo estos torneos semiprofesionales y vamos a seguir en la medida proponiendo ideas para el campo aficionado, campamentos como el Future Champions seguro van a existir y sobre todo siempre buscar una relación cordial y empática con cada uno de los presidentes de las asociaciones o de las federaciones nacionales que quieran comunicarse con nosotros.
Muchas gracias. And for Tyson Lee, what's your opinion about that a professional organization of boxing like WBA making a tournament of amateur boxing like WBA Culture Champions? What do you think about it?
Well,
can you hear me, Mr. Lee?
All right, I wasn't sure that was aimed at me.
Keep your guards up.
Well, currently, right. Currently, trying to do a semi-pro league in the U.S. is against the law. I mean, here we're either amateur or professional. Our laws don't support that currently, and so that's why on our Olympic team we composed 100% of amateur boxers. So that would be a big step here. But I'm not going to say it's impossible, but our position now is amateurs box amateurs, professionals box professionals.
Okay, thank you. Y para don Ricardo Contreras, pues la misma pregunta, como quien dice. ¿Qué le parece? ¿Cuál es su opinión de que un organismo de boxeo profesional, como es la Asociación Mundial de Boxeo, la WBA, organizase un torneo o un campamento, llámelo como prefiera, de boxeadores olímpicos, como fue el Future Champions?
Yo creo que sería para mí muy conveniente. Habemos países en los cuales el boxeador olímpico pelea como boxeador profesional. son estilos que no se pueden diferenciar mucho del boxeo profesional. Y como lo comentó Clemente, ahora el boxeo olímpico es más de fuerza, más estilo profesional. ¿Qué es lo que tiene que hacerse? Yo creo que aquí la WBA podría hacer una iniciativa con nuestra Federación Internacional para seguir haciendo esos torneos que me parece que le quedaron ad hoc a los boxeadores olímpicos, a los boxeadores amateurs. Hacer una prueba si tienen realmente las capacidades para incluirse dentro de los prospectos del boxeo profesional. En México tenemos muchos campeones del mundo de diferentes organismos y somos el segundo lugar en medallas olímpicas que ha ganado México en este deporte. Por tanto, creo que para esos países que tienen ese desarrollo, debiera de incentivarse a hacer un torneo pro, ¿sí? Sin que pierdan la elegibilidad para los Juegos Olímpicos. Finalmente, esa elegibilidad que les da el Comité Olímpico lo hace solamente por medio de las federaciones nacionales. Yo estaría totalmente de acuerdo y mientras más pronto fuera, mejor, porque ahora que viene el final del ciclo olímpico es cuando van a despuntar los futuros campeones mundiales de la WBA, seguramente con el apoyo de mi amigo Gilberto Mendoza.
Muchas gracias, don Ricardo. Y muchas gracias también a Lautaro Moreno, a Omar Narváez, a Guillermo Rigondó y a Jesper Jansen por su asistencia a este foro. Y con esto tenemos que dar por concluido el foro de boxeo olímpico, porque ya llegó la hora de concluir. Yo por ganas estaría aquí otras 3 horas más con todos ellos y con todos ustedes, pero la hora es la hora. Y bueno, quiero recordarles a todos que hoy, dentro de unas horas, a las 4 de la tarde de hora del este de los Estados Unidos, que son las 10 de la noche del Reino Unido y las 3 de la tarde de hora de México DF, habrá un encuentro de los fans con Amir Khan a través de este medio también. Y será una hora con él, con Amir Khan, doble campeón mundial, medalla de plata olímpico. Y les invitamos también a todos ustedes, a todos los fans, a que estén mañana con nuestras otras ponencias, nuestros otros foros que vamos a tener mañana, aquí en el canal de WBA en YouTube. Y estará en el foro de veganismo y boxeo, donde estarán Bernard Hopkins, Tim Bradley, don Gilberto Mendoza y otros invitados de excepción. Y también estará la joya de la corona de esta convención WBA, que es el seminario de oficiales, que podrá ser seguido en directo a través del canal de YouTube por todo el público. Yo personalmente les aconsejo mucho a todos que no se pierdan el seminario de jueces y árbitros, porque se aprenden muchas cosas en esos seminarios y es una oportunidad muy, muy buena para que los aficionados vean cómo se puntúa una pelea, cómo trabaja un árbitro y muchas cosas que luego ayudan a comprender mucho mejor un combate de boxeo. Y atentos a los horarios en las redes sociales de la WBA, de WBA Boxing. Y ha sido un placer. Un abrazo muy fuerte a todos ustedes, a Mr. Lee, a Lautaro, a Jesper, a Clemente, a don Ricardo y, por supuesto, a Gilberto Mendoza. Y un abrazo muy fuerte a todos los que han estado aquí siguiendo el foro a través de las redes sociales y de YouTube. Hasta mañana.
Muchas gracias, chao, hasta mañana.
Thank you very much, and thank you.
Così, Ulrico.
Bye bye, Mr. Lee and Mr. Jensen. Nice to meet you.
AX.
Ciao, Clemente.
Ciao.
Ciao. Ciao.
Ciao, grazie a tutti.